All right. Another week, another Centre Circle podcast. I'm not looking forward to this. I'm not gonna lie. In the studio, it's a full house today. I've got Bins, Isaac, and Keith. How you doing, boys?
Good, man.
And because Mikel Arteta didn't feel like we were stressed enough, we brought friend of the pod Ash along. Because we needed all the help we could get from an Arsenal fan perspective.
I need to help, man.
When we were talking in a week and both Isaac and Keith said they were coming, I said, okay, all right. Yeah. Let's see if Ash is free. How you doing, bro? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I don't know if I'm here to help, though.
Yeah, boy. Well, is who you're helping, innit? Because I know who we're not here to help.
It's good to have Arsenal representation back, though, after last week. They down tools.
Excuse me.
You know what I mean?
Down tools?
Down tools.
Bruv, I was busy. We were busy, innit?
Yeah.
Convenient.
Yeah.
Life.
How convenient.
Any congratulations yet? Or we still stand on business?
Congratulations for who?
For Liverpool winning the league.
I congratulate the fans that deserved it.
To be fair,
Okay. You stand on business.
I mean, it's still early.
Yeah.
They could get a guard of honor.
From where?
Well, why wouldn't you? You have to get one anyway. Why is it?
No, okay, from you, man.
Shall we stand up?
I knew what you did, man. I was like, from where? I had first stone whilst you're walking through it.
You might get rushed.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the death tunnel?
Yeah, but it's like, they do that training when it's a birthday, it's like as you run through. Yeah, I'll do that. No problem. Anyway, look, you know what? Listen, enjoy it, innit? You deserved it. Everything I've said has come true, and I hate it. And I did not envisage the gap. That's the thing that has killed me. But we'll get to that. The league got settled very early with a wide points gap, but there's still lots of jostling for Champions League games. So we've had basically a full program as we record, apart from Palace and Forest, who play tomorrow, Monday night. And Key has got one eye on Forest, so he can message me the instant they concede. But yeah, I'll run through the Prem games, and then we'll talk about all the players in the Champions League shuffle this season and how it has changed in what I feel like is the blink of an eye, because City are sitting pretty now, no pun intended. So looking at the results this weekend, I'll start with the one hot off the press. Brentford 4, Manchester United 3. No one cares because they've lost so many games, it doesn't matter. But Man United have lost yet again. Europa League will be cited as an excuse, but you're already through, so you could have played a decent team. But anyway, another win at home for Brentford. Who else will we? Leicester 2, Southampton 0. Dead rubbers go. But Jamie Vardy has now scored 99 goals for Leicester. 199.
Mm-hmm.
One more to reach the milestone. I think it'll be nice before he leaves. I've seen some interesting views on who should be signing him. I saw someone say Tottenham should sign him. I'm telling you, some of the people they let share their thoughts on our TV screens, it's just mental. Absolutely mental. We'll play a little game and see who gets that. Everton 2, Ipswich Town 2. I finally back your boy and then he kills my last man standing, but we'll come to that. Again, didn't mean anything to either of those teams. Ipswich are already on their way down, and Everton are just plodding along. West Ham 1, Spurs 1. Again, two teams who are just drifting along. Spurs' focus is on the Europa League second leg this week. I think we're heading towards a Tottenham and United final, which is a conflict of interest for me as an Arsenal fan. But I'd rather Man United win it any day, and I'll put that on record. So those are effectively all the games that have drifted through the week, through this week's programme. Let's have a chat about some of the Champions League players. I'm going to start with City versus Wolves. That was the early Friday night, the early game of this programme. Friday night, Manchester City 1, Wolves 0, Kevin De Bruyne. I don't know if any of you guys watched the game, but Wolves should have been ahead before De Bruyne scored. They were dominating the game, dominating the ball and the play, and the chance that was squandered. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's put a ball right. They've played a high line. Wolves have played through it. He's through on goal. couldn't shoot, roll it across the box for a tap in, and he has managed to roll it to a yard in front of his teammate, who even at stretch, it was like Gaza Euro 96 type vibes. And you just think, no matter how bad City are, you got to take those kind of chances. You know?
Yeah.
So they had 2 early chances, and then as soon as City get one, Kevin De Bruyne bubbles it in. Doku with the assist, with an unintentional, good weighted bounce for Kevin De Bruyne. And obviously, since Kevin De Bruyne has recently announced that he will be begrudgingly leaving at the end of this season, there was a big cheer for them. But I guess the key thing out of this game is how the tables have turned, literally. You know, we were talking about Man City maybe not making it for the Champions League when it was 4 teams, even when it was 5 teams, we weren't entirely sure. And now they're chasing pack. I also got to worry about whether Man City catch them. And it's not like they're back to their best, but they have been winning games.
Yeah, and they're just doing enough because even the teams chasing for the Champions League spots are not really that consistent. Bar Chelsea, the teams are kind of dropping points, etc. And that's just kind of opened the door for
the lane.
Manchester City to creep up. And you can never write off Pep in it. Like, I know everyone was happy when they went on that really bad run, etc. But Pep is Pep.
Yeah, last 5 games, 4 wins, 1 draw.
It's not been good though.
No.
Like, if you really watch what they've been doing, they just about getting through. Like, they were 2 down against Palace and kind of like drew it back because they fell down. Wolves outplayed them for like 35 minutes, clearly.
And even after the goal,
Bellegarde was the person who went through and overplayed the pass. I thought Cunha was really good, just in terms of like his areas. I don't know, we'll speak about him in a bit. But there wasn't really much that was in the game. And there was like one moment where Doku got down the left, pulled it back, a bobble pass. In the second half, they had a couple of chances. I thought Marmoush could have done a little bit better with a few efforts, but the game is actually still there for Wolves to get something. And if you look at Wolves' form, they've been one of the form sides in the league. Like they hadn't lost for a long time. They beat teams. I think they won is it 8 out of the last 9 or something like that?
Form team in Europe.
They would have 22 points out of the last 30.
They were doing so well. So it wasn't an easy game. So you can actually turn it around and say it's actually a good point for City considering the form of what Wolves are in. But when you actually see the quality that City still have, they should have kind of like seen it off a bit easier.
And I think to your point, there's Pep kind of, because you know Pep is about his ideals, right? Winning wasn't enough. You have to win in the right way, in the way that he's set out. But it's almost like, he knew. We just have to get Champions League. Like, getting through the ideas and getting back to how they were playing before is probably not on the agenda now. It's just do the basics and win the games with the quality we've got. And that's probably the mode he's in. And I think we might see a bit of more of a switch up. Even though they made purchases in January, etc., there's definitely going to be a wicked revolving door up at the City ground this summer.
On that though, I kind of can see where they've fallen off in that game. So remember City, they used to get the ball back really quickly. And then what they do is they kind of keep the ball for a while and then they build in and then they hit you. They would get the ball back and then give it straight back. And I've never seen that from City so much. And I think the quality of player, like Nunes done it a lot, like really tenacious to get it back. I know he's not playing in his right position. Then he's just giving it straight back to them.
Not there,
and the quality is getting, I think they're still trying to do the same things, but you can see the drop off in quality in terms of how it's being executed because they're giving the ball back to a team and then the team are now it's making it frantic. They have like very little control of games in compared to how they used to be. So once they get that bit back and that next 2 or 3 seconds after they win the ball back, they get a bit more control of it. You're going to now see City dominating games.
And I think that's these players like that. Go on.
I think the fear factor has gone. I think the quality issue, the quality point is very potent in the fact that Grealish is not there, Foden's the confidence is shot, De Bruyne is on his way out. Their defense is gone.
Well, you talked about quality, I mentioned Grealish. Okay.
No, but
you know me already.
I know you don't like him, but I think Grealish was a good player. I think he was destroyed by Pep or the system that Pep put him into. The defense, if you look at the defense, they went from Walker, Stones, Diaz, and Ake at left back to a makeshift defense that changes pretty much almost every game.
Literally.
Guardiola,
Nunes,
who's not a right back. Rico Lewis, who's some say he's not a Premier League level quality right back. O'Reilly's there, who's not a left back.
What did he play you to? Midfield, I bet.
Yeah, he's centre mid.
He's centre mid. and Akanji who's not fit. So I think, and then Edison, his form's dipped off, but you could understand that considering that he's not playing with a consistent four in front of him. I think that fear factor is just not there anymore. And teams are, whereas to Ash's point, you know, part of their ability to be able to maintain the ball and pass it around and move it around and dominate comes from teams showing you too much respect, sitting in blocks of 4 and just shutting up shop and letting you just go left to right and pick them apart.
Because the risk was they'd win the ball back and you wouldn't get it back for so long.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas now they go, they don't have the legs anymore. They don't have they're not the same team that they were. Let's get at them.
And the analyst is doing what I said. Well, if you pressure Nunes, he likes to get the ball away in this situation. And there we are.
So I agree that the quality dip is an issue, but I think the fear factor is just. I think that's the bit for me. That's the biggest point.
Agreed.
In regards to City's downfall,
because then the fear factor goes, and then people exploit that lack of quality, and then the cycle just continues. Right? No. I fully agree. I think they have to go back to getting. If they're not going to get specialists in that role, at least get guys who play in that part of the pitch. Right. So he had 4 centre backs across the back 4, but at least they were all defenders. You go back to, and he doesn't want to play Nunes there, but he has to, etc. But there's people I can already see, if they have the summer they need to have, you're not playing much next season, right? And he's already told you, Nunes, you haven't got the brains to play midfield. Why he's saying that publicly, I don't know. But hey ho. But yeah, through inconsistency and other things, they're there. They're third now, 1 point ahead of Newcastle. And Chelsea. So it's not cemented, but from where they were and how they were floundering and playing at well below their level, you have to say shame on the other teams and kind of well done to City. Moving on to my new Jekyll and Hyde team, Aston Villa, who played Fulham. Again, I never know what Villa you're gonna get. So I don't ever look at games and think, I expect Villa to win, or I just never know what Villa you're gonna get. But Fulham are a little bit like that as well. And they've dropped off a little bit. Villa are now sitting 7th after beating Fulham 1-0, 60 points. So same points as Forest, 3 points behind Chelsea in 5th place. Forest have got a game in hand which they're playing tomorrow. It's not really in their hands anymore. Is it?
I think it's safe to say they're not making it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think there's one more twist to come.
No.
But it's not in their hands. It's not in their hands.
The only thing I would say is because Newcastle play Chelsea
next week,
so 2 teams drop points there. I think Forest, depending on what happened. But I think the key thing that killed Villa was the City game. The last minute goal when it was 1-1 would have kept City closer. And that goal just basically elevated City and dropped them down as well. So that probably might have been a moment where it kind of was lost for them. But they've thrown away silly points, especially at home. Like teams that they should never even be anywhere close to and being 2 up and stuff like that. And Watkins is finishing. It was bad yesterday, man. He missed 2 very, very, very.
Bro, if you're knocking on my door the way it's knocking, you better finish that, bro.
Thank you.
Shouldn't we pass the mic to someone to back his boy?
Pass it to me.
Go on then.
No, every striker has a bad day, right? And it's
Let's go back to the semi-final.
That's lazy.
Because he started the semi-final because Rashford was injured. That's your chance, isn't it? You're going to the manager and saying, look, I'm meant to be the big guy around here. Put me in the.
But this is what I was about to say. This is the issue with Emery and what gets him in trouble, right? Let me put it down. When you look at his team selection at times, sometimes he's over tweaking. I look at this. He's playing McGinn left wing. When you got Bailey, Ramsey, you understand? He does things like that. So I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you take the other day when they're playing the PSG? We go back to the PSG game. Rashford is cooking the fullback. The team takes him off. You understand? So, like I said, some of it is self-inflicted. And
they won the game, though. Huh? I know they didn't qualify, but they won the 90 minutes.
No, but he won the game, but he could have won. He could have gone through. You take Rashford off.
Can you do me a favour?
Yeah, go on.
Can you get back to Watkins?
Get back to Watkins.
Go on.
But like I said, as a result, he's picking and pulling players out so they lose a bit of form. So Watkins lost a bit of form. But we can't deny Watkins.
Because before the semi-final, he bagged.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying everyone has a bad day in the office, and that's work.
That's fine. But what we're saying is,
What, he can't knock the door? And
No,
then,
if
and
you're
then-
you
knocking on the door,
You can 100% knock the door. But when you get the chances, when you play in those games, you have to execute. And he's not playing as well as he was before. So you're almost justifying, like, he's almost like Emery has said, look, I've got other tools at my disposal. I'm going to use them as I see fit. You're now back to be the main guy, and you've not done what you need to do.
Because then he took him off just after it. He had two really good chances. One that
Come
he
off.
failed to connect with, and the other that he's gone through and he's drilled it. It's a really comfortable save considering he's 1-on-1 with the keeper. And I like what Watkins does. I've never been a fan of his finishing though.
he's busy.
Yeah, like he's a bit too
really?
inconsistent with it as well.
He's very busy.
But he'll
I'm surprised
score,
at that.
like he'll score a lot of goals.
I understand, but he perseveres, isn't he?
Yeah, like you see him score like a lot of goals,
What are
like
we
for
saying?
volume.
Jermaine Defoe? Or
No, he's better than Defoe.
What?
What, as a finisher?
You're mad.
Not as a finisher, but as an all-round player, yeah.
No, but he's talking about finishing.
Nah.
You know what's funny? It's interesting you said that because I wasn't a Watkins fan initially, but the numbers he's been putting up, I can't chat to him.
Do you know what?
I'm having
He's
him.
tenacious. He
Yeah, I'm
keeps
having
on going.
him.
He keeps on going. Like you said, he hasn't
Do you know
got
what
a
this-
repertoire finishing, like,
Yeah.
but he will keep on going to get the 2 or the 3 goals or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think this is
And
where
then,
football
and then this is the, and do you know what this reminds me of? You see when Pep came in to
Yeah.
City,
and Joe Hart. I knew it. I
he says
knew it.
thanks but no thanks.
Bruv.
Emery's coming. All right, granted, he's coming to a situation where they don't have money to splash. So we can't just go straight into the market like City did and just be like, right, I need a new striker. So we've had to just deal with him, all right? And, he's come in and Watkins been their main man for however long beforehand. So you can't, he's got credit in the bank. You can't just come in and just be like, right, you bench. They had the run, started working with
That's
the
true.
switching.
He was doing. He
And
was
then- but then
rotating with
Duran-
Duran. Yeah.
But then Duran came in and started upsetting the apple cart. So
Yeah.
he said, I've got to let you go.
He's a bit of a hothead, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got to let you go.
Apparently ran a training ground and that he was a bit.
But then in comes Rashford, in comes Marlon, in comes Asensio.
Yeah.
So now I've got options. So now I'm going to go back to rotating. So now I've rotated you. I've started Rashford. I'm starting Marlon or whoever up top. You don't like it, fine. Here's your opportunity. You prove me right. I'll be real with you. And then also the transfer talk about him leaving to Arsenal. I would not be surprised if he drops him and brings someone else.
And don't get me wrong, the Emery Tinker thing plays into it. Don't get me wrong. I do think Emery
Definitely.
plays a bit too much football manager. But I just think in those positions, and I'm sure players go to the manager all the time, but you've chosen to make that public. That's the bit for me.
Yeah.
Right?
That as well.
You've chosen to make it public.
Yeah.
In a kind of beat your chest type of way, that's fine, bro. When them chances fall to you in the semi-final, clap them. Otherwise, next time, knock on his door, don't tell anybody. Do you know what I mean? That's the only challenge. I do think I would love to know whether, look, whatever you want to say about Emery, he's won Europa League how many times? He's managed at the elite level, when he was at PSG, etc. It'd be interesting to see what he thinks of Watkins, i.e., in the Prem, what you do, what he does with the ball, he drifts out wide, he brings players in, is cool. When we're playing against the PSG, etc., what I need from you, you ain't got.
You ain't got it.
And that's what I read from that situation.
The same.
Less about whether who's better, it's more at the Champions League night, with what I expect Enrique to do, etc., etc., I need Rashford doing X and Y.
There are levels.
And you're not able to do that.
Let's go back. Let's take it even a step further back than that. England. If Tony didn't have all that nonsense around him, Tony would have
Gone before.
he would have been higher up in the pecking order than Olly Watkins, if we're being honest.
Yeah, most probably.
Yeah, at that
If
time.
we're being really honest.
Yeah.
But Watkins was banging numbers at that time, though.
Yeah.
He was hot. He was hot.
And,
form-wise.
it still wasn't his, because we all know Harry Kane's got the number one slot.
Yeah.
Second understudy still wasn't his. It still wasn't a
that's
I
given.
don't think it was no one's though.
It was Rashford's at the time, I think.
But that's what, that understanding.
No, but
No, one
Rashford
really had a full grasp
no
of
one
it.
grabbed it,
No one
to be
grabbed
fair.
it. No one had the full
And no one
grasp.
really has the opportunity to grasp because Harry Kane's going to start all those games as well. So
Yeah. But so I think overall, though, if Villa don't make Champions League this season, you've done it again.
Because
I
he
disagree.
juggled Champions League very well
I
with his
disagree
league
with
campaign.
that.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time doing that in the Premier League, I don't think you can
I
be
don't
too
know,
harsh on
man,
him.
because I gave you tools. This is why I went and did Splish Splash in January. This is exactly why.
He got
I'm not
players.
paying all them money for how much does the sensio costed? Are you weekly? I went and did that specifically so you could work this through. I'm not saying it's easy, and I hear you, but he's one of the few managers where his club backed him properly
in the January.
Okay, but how many people, if you went out and surveyed 100 people, how many of those 100 would say, I would have guessed that Aston Villa made the quarterfinals of the Champions League and are still in Champions League contention?
And before, semi of the FA Cup as well.
Before or after January?
FA Cup.
Before or after January?
Before and after. I even after, I don't think...
Before, I would have allowed him. After January, I would have expected a little bit more.
I would expect him to secure. Because look at the players he got. He got what? He got three strikers.
The only one I'll give you...
three strikers.
The only one I'll give you is the FA Cup.
That's the only one. Because that was a bad.
I don't mind the FA Cup either. That's on the day thing.
I think I'm with you.
That's contending for top four.
I don't mind the FA Cup one. It's
remember this, and they're still in the race for the champ. It's not like
that's what I said. No, that's what I said. If we got,
if he doesn't make
Chelsea dropped off for a long time. They didn't take advantage of that.
But I know Newcastle didn't spend as much money when they got into the Champions League, but they didn't qualify for Europe.
After it, yeah.
So they couldn't balance it at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Where I think you got to give Emery credit, like he's come in and remember this is a new Champions League campaign.
But that goes back to my point of them reinforcing his team.
What's his name?
How did he get that? And I remember we said at the time, how did he get that? So you think it's harsh? You think actually the cycle of getting in and doing relatively well in all those competitions, it's okay. Not it's okay, but it would be harsh to say he's failed a little bit by not.
Yeah, because like you say, you do set your own. You do reset your own baseline. Like you qualify for the Champions League, and obviously you want to do that again. But remember, they were like Newcastle. They were ahead of the curve. No one expected them to get Champions League last year. So they're essentially qualifying for the Europa League this season. They're where they are in it. I know you say they've been backed, but I think this is staying in Europe is their platform to be that team.
One second. But this is the question: then. What's the point of Emery coming in then? Because we're giving him. I'm being real.
I was going to say the same thing.
Could you put in Emery?
Hold on, let him.
Yeah, I'm going to say it in a different way.
You put in Emery with his experience and knowledge in this game and managing high level of quality players, technical and football IQ players, right? So in the summer, after you made the qualification, they bought Onana, signed Tielemans, Barkley. Who else
was the year before?
Yeah. Tielemans was the year before?
Yeah, Tielemans didn't come this summer. He came the year before.
Yeah, he came when they went down. Yeah.
So who else did he... Barkley, who else did they sign?
Onana. Definitely Onana. I can't remember.
A couple of defenders.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying... it's Philogene, Onana. Philogene's gone back out.
Yeah.
Matson,
that's it.
Yeah.
So they backed him in the summer. And then they backed him in January as well.
I would say January is more the backing.
But they backed him in summer. Like, remember, certain people wanted Onana at Arsenal. Remember, I said,
okay, so question.
But what I'm saying, they backed him twice.
They didn't bring no one in big in the summer.
Sorry, keep just for yours.
They didn't bring no one big.
Yeah, I think January is when they backed him. But the only thing I was going to say is, for me,
they had a lot of people leave in the summer.
The almost quote unquote business case for go and get me Asensio, go and make the Rashford work and get me Marlon would have probably been based on qualifying for the Champions League again. And the only reason I say that is you weren't going to go in the office and say, hey, get me these players and I'll win the Champions League.
Yeah.
Right? That wouldn't have been it. It would have been, we need to finish as high as possible again, revenue. You know how these guys think and talk, right? And progress well in the cups, etc. Anything past, bro, I'll be honest with you, anything past qualifying and coming out the league stage, and it's the first of a new format as well anyway, would have been a bonus. I think the business case on give me these players would have been let's lock in Champions League qualification.
I think that, but as well, I think they have the buffer of the Europa League as well. I don't think it's Champions League or bust. And to Adrian, where should Emery be now? Like you say, what's the point of hiring him? Like he's done wonders since they've been there.
Qualification.
That's what I'm saying. He's been brought in to elevate the club to another level,
which he's done.
No, which he's done. But what I'm saying, but we're looking at the January signings, and that's for you to say push on. And they haven't been that convincing.
So that's what I was
asking. Push on from what though? Okay, push on from what?
Top four,
become regular.
Okay, so where I think I can kind of see the point. So if it was a top four and Villa missed out, that's fine because there's an extra place. You would probably have expected Villa to make it into the top five.
But we didn't know the extra place was
I didn't even give him that grace.
No,
I'll be honest, I didn't even give him that grace.
What I would say though is there was a position where they really struggled in like the winter months where they were really going for the Champions League, and they dropped so far down, and they've actually done really well to be back in the race.
Yeah.
So if you see it across that, and then obviously you then look at Nottingham Forest, who are having a season of their life, to your point, you think they're going to drop, right? So Villa are probably just about trending where they should be trending, considering everything that's happened this season. I would say that as well.
I agree.
If they got Europa, they would then go into that competition as probably one of the favourites, as what we've seen this year, which I think then does kind of help to continue to elevate what they're doing, but they would need to keep the squad together. So I kind of think he's done enough.
Spot on.
I think he's done enough, but where I can, if someone says they've dropped off, I can almost agree with them too, because they probably have enough to be in the Champions League places quite comfortably.
So let me ask you a question.
And the reason why I say it, the reason why I think that point is harsh.
I think you're gonna answer my question.
I think the reason why that part is harsh is because what's happened now is they've gone, oh, you've gone on a great run. We've reinforced the squad temporarily, because remember Rashford and Asensio are loans. We've reinforced the squad temporarily. So, okay, we're resetting the baseline here, right? Essentially, we're saying, taking stock of where we are, here's new players, or here's players that we think with this talent in the squad, you should now be able to achieve this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Which is Champions League qualification.
Which is Champions League qualification, because let's be honest, I don't think they would have said Champions League winner.
No way.
Exactly. And I don't think, and FA Cup, that's
if you can, you can.
You can. That's neither here nor there.
But
right? So I agree with you. The Champions League qualification probably would have been A1.
Yeah, because that's not a Europa League investment. That's my point.
That's
not Europa League investment.
I understand that. I understand.
I'm not saying it's a fire or anything. I'm just saying it's a disappointing.
And I understand that. Yeah. But then what happens is you start getting further in the Champions League. You get further in the FA Cup. So then the
same quality is now mashing up your main target. Yeah,
exactly. So now your main target starts. So now your main target starts to take a hit.
First world problem,
because it's like you're overperforming.
Exactly. So we're overperforming. So now we're at a point where we go, do you know what? You know another part I'm not considering. I'm not mad at it.
You know another part I'm not considering as well. This is gonna sound bad, but it's all well and good bringing in Rashford, Marlon, and Asensio. You go inside the sassy, man. Why are you giving yourself taking with this hand, bro? It don't make sense.
And then playing it right back.
It's mad.
He's why they lost to Man City, innit?
100%. And I don't like to dog out players like that, but his performance is that. And we saw this from Chelsea. Like, there's a reason he was able to lead there. You know, so look, I think you're right. It would just be, I think when all the dust is settled, if they finish
sixth,
bruv, if they finish sixth,
it's disappointment.
I think it's not crazy or anything like that, but there will definitely be disappointment there.
Yeah, of course,
because they were good value for the Champions League, and you know momentum needs to be built, and also it affects so many things: recruitment, revenue, all of these things. Like the squad he can build next season. If he qualifies for Champions League,
he can build a stronger squad.
He can, but if they don't, it's a slight sideways step. Luckily, the owners he's got, they will invest in
and I think what the word you used was very key is momentum. Because they would have gone, look at what we just did in the Champions League. Let's do it again next season. We can't.
Or at least let's do it with more permanent players. So now instead of only getting an Asensio whether on loan, I'm not saying you could go and buy Asensio from Real Madrid, but you can just have a slightly different conversation and step up.
Yeah.
And then if you qualify for Europa League in 2 years' time or something, it's not that big of a setback. You know, you're just kind of in the mix and in the run. But I think we're going to see this for the next
one thing I would
years.
say though is if they go into the Europa League, considering what the base quality of that competition is now, they're one of the favourites.
100%.
Yeah. It's going to be like Chelsea in
they're one of the favourites.
Europa Conference, isn't it?
Yeah, they're one of the favourites.
Yeah, it will be.
Sorry, before you move on from Villa,
Yep.
I just want to send an apology to Tielemans because I was very critical.
Louder, please.
Last season, I thought he struggled a little bit. I didn't think he'd be the guy to elevate them. And granted, they're not as high in the league this year, but he's put in some performances this season that have shocked me. I think it might be because they've had the ball a little bit more.
Yep.
Like at Leicester, he was chasing the ball a lot. You know what I mean? We've all seen that famous clip of him running backwards. Villa weren't as possession-based last season as what they are now. I think they're
and he's one of the reasons they are.
So
fair.
Be my apologies.
Look, don't make a big deal of it, but Onana, you were right, okay? All right, let's move on. So, he's not having him. I'm a big fan. He's not having him at all. But I've not had
He
him.
hasn't had it for a while still.
Yeah. I rate him, but he's not proving me right. Yeah, he's not proving me right.
What has he done?
I have to concede. He's not proving me right.
Has he done what
And I wanted him
Gravenberch
at
has done?
Arsenal.
Has he done anything close to what
He's not
Gravenberch has done?
Gravenberch.
No, but
Let's
what
don't do
I'm
that.
saying. Has he done anything
He's
close
not
to that?
Gravenberch.
But he was supposed to
what
do that. When he was
brought
talking
into.
to Arsenal, that
But he
would have
never
been
did
the
that at Everton.
equivalent type of
No, but
signing.
that's what that
He never did that at Everton, so I don't understand. He doesn't do that for Belgium.
Yeah, but
So,
people
but
thought
that
people
was
could
my
step up.
point. That was
That's what
my
I'm saying.
point.
That was his point to me. That's what I'm saying.
But to be fair, the injury
to
played a
see-
massive part because at the start, the first, say, like 3 months of the season,
No, he wasn't.
He was alright.
no, he was good.
He was alright. No, he was alright.
I'd say he was good. Then he got injured, and then Kamara's just done the role better.
I think
Which is fair.
Kamara's better than him though.
Way better.
As a ball winner,
Yeah.
as a defensive mid, yes, I agree.
Don't get me wrong. I hope
think
I'm
Kamara's
not
better
now
than-
becomes a player I thought he was gonna be. But it's like my man that's at Everton. I was saying him, Decore.
Yeah.
He's another one that tricked me, bro. I thought he was ready to help us, bro.
Kamara's really good.
He's really,
You can't get
really
this
good.
back off him.
I don't know. Is he French?
Because he kind of came in on the slide.
Marseille? Was it Marseille?
Maybe
He's good. He's really good. Really good. And then we've talked a little bit about them. Newcastle played Brighton. What was the score with Newcastle?
1-1.
It was what? Yeah, 1-1 draw. I mean, Newcastle have been on a good run of late. And the draw hasn't really hurt them because everyone else has kind of dilly-dallying. But they really didn't need Chelsea to win today. But yes, Newcastle on 63 points.
I'd argue that it did hurt them.
You reckon?
Just looking at their fixtures.
Upcoming fixtures.
Chelsea, then Arsenal.
Yeah.
I fancied them against Chelsea, I'll be honest. And Arsenal.
Fourth time this season.
Man can't even...
For the fourth time this
He's
season.
got Arteta's number. He's got Arteta's number.
If you're a Newcastle player, you're looking at Arsenal like...
That's my
That's
point.
work.
That's-
That's
yeah.
work.
He's giving it one of them.
Worst case, you might get a draw. Yeah, I mean, if they ever draw, it's a bad time. But Eddie Howe, when he's putting these magnetic things on the whiteboard, he must have Arteta's formula on there because
got his
every
number.
time, bro, it's not even a problem for him. So and you get that sometimes, you know. But yeah, you know, you're right. On the face of it, you need to. It's so tight there. An extra 2 points, you create a little bit of daylight, etc. But now you're riding the same wave as Chelsea.
You say that though. If they beat Chelsea, they've got it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Because if they beat them, they're ahead of them. Even if they lose to us, they've got a home game to seal it, and I back them to do it.
Yeah.
So really and truly, you're saying it's a one-game shootout for them. If they beat Chelsea, I think they secure it. I think Chelsea need
Because Chelsea
to win.
got Man United and Forest
There
after
you go.
that.
Chelsea need to win that game.
Chelsea Forest game is
Yeah.
it's gonna be like a relegation 6-pointer.
Did you see the game though? Like the referee was itching to give Newcastle a penalty.
No.
Nah, don't do
No,
that.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Nah, he was itching, man. He was like,
No.
pen.
But on first, it looked like a pen, innit? That handball was wild though.
Yeah.
The handball
Yeah.
was wild. I see, man. What's up, brother?
You can think, why are you doing that? though?
Dive. That was a big dive, but
To be fair, the Gordon one was
It was
close
a
to
foul,
being in.
yeah.
Yeah, it was close to being in. But
Yeah, so not a great result for them. Brighton.
I think it's a good point because
But-
if you think about it, it keeps them just ahead of Chelsea with the view of they've got them at home. If they had somehow managed to lose that and then they drawn that, I think it's difficult. I think it might be a good point.
so. But what's Minter doing? Why is he not celebrating?
They kissed the badge. What are you talking about?
He did. It's weird. He's like, kiss the bad, but I want to stay.
But didn't he-
No, but the last time he scored against him, he didn't celebrate.
Yeah, like he done better.
Now, I think he
Hold on.
apologised.
He's not on
I
loan,
think he
is
apologised.
No, he's there.
signed. They
He
paid
played
him.
like- he played for them. Like.
Did he play for them?
No,
No, he didn't play a game for Newcastle.
Exactly.
That's why I was so
He went to the
vexed
training
last
ground
time.
and that was it.
But he wanted to.
But I'll be
stay,
doing
though.
backflips, bro.
Do you know what
mad.
it is though? He probably he's just happy they gave him the opportunity, innit? They put
No,
him
but
in.
Eddie Howe did say you wanted him to stay, but
Yeah.
they only sold him because of PSR.
numbers.
But they done that mad. They done that. You know
Wanted me
that
to stay,
mad
but he didn't play me.
square
Yeah,
where
yeah.
like one player went like Elliot Anderson
Yeah,
went to
yeah,
this
yeah.
team and
Newcastle,
then he went
yeah.
here. Like
The cook in the books.
yeah, that 4-way.
There was
transfer
definitely,
was-
you know, those
It
messages.
was so early.
No,
as
but
well.
they've
WhatsApp
acknowledged that
you can't get into
The window
WhatsApp.
open.
You know WhatsApp
Bruv.
secure. You can't get.
There was
They've
definitely a
acknowledged that though.
meeting.
They've
in a-
come out and acknowledged that.
Bruv.
It was their PSR deals.
There was definitely a meeting in a Costa Coffee, bro. All of them.
The WhatsApp deals. You can't
Nothing
open
online.
that WhatsApp.
Nothing online. Yo, listen, we're gonna do this.
Testing
You
room
do
for
that. Boom,
bugging.
boom, boom. Yeah. But burn this paper after we leave here. Type vibes because it was all a bit too coordinated. It was all a little bit too coordinated.
And mad money as well, you know.
It was so early. You know, he's like, right, Elliot Anderson's gone for like 40 million. He went for 40, then Minto went for like 35.3.
So how much do you, what's the number on your books? Yeah? All right.
You need
I tell you
Elliot,
what though,
you're going.
some of those players have actually turned out to be
Anderson.
I mean, if you want to buy him now, it's not a joke. He might be 60 million.
He pulled it out. Yeah, he pulled it out.
So, to be fair, who else was the other one we cast? What's the left back at Newcastle?
Who?
He had a little spell.
Yeah,
Right. So there are a couple that moved. Minter as well that actually, you know what? I think what it was, that's a player I would want anyway because they are good. So the number was mad. Initially, I thought they were moving players that were duds for crazy numbers. But actually, I think what they did was, look, he is good and he is going to play. So let me just get some of that future value now, on the table. So
I'll be interested to see what happens early this year. Because I think we have to.
Everyone's alright though. Everyone's alright.
No, you say that, but then remember, PSR is something that's extrapolated over a couple of years.
So
They want to do something really early to make sure they're good for the next couple of years. So if you start seeing people moving around, and be like, oh, okay, like Max Downham, all of a sudden he goes on.
And it also affects the current window. Because if you do it now, you know what you're working with for the rest of that.
But you know what? Actually, I think what happened? I think it'll be different teams doing it now. One last different people at a different
Fulham and something.
Exactly. But it's tricky now. Everyone knows it's tricky now. Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one.
Because we got the other one, to cut in the other one with Chelsea and the agents. And
that's kind of how much money they pay the agents. Yeah, that's anyway. Chelsea, that one there, they're running it like a Billions TV show, to be honest. But yeah, Chelsea, Liverpool, the result I didn't see coming. I'll be honest. Not that it matters.
I did.
Did you?
I don't do that. Anyway.
No, to be fair, it reminded
whenever we
me.
talk, this guy rolled his eyes.
No, it did remind me a couple of times when teams have won the league and it just gets nuts after that. Who was it? I think it might have been us. And then we went to Villa and we lost. Bro, John York was still at Villa. Didn't he do a Penenka?
Oh, yeah, towards the end. We lost our last. We won our first 98.
Yeah,
98. Yeah, 98. We lost our last two.
And we went there.
Who did we play after we won the league in 1920? And Trent went to do walkies and Salah had to pull him back into the line. Drunk pool. We was at home.
Yeah. I think it might have been City because City beat us after we won the league. It was City.
Yeah, but we don't care.
Yeah, like,
this
was about Chelsea getting the result they needed today. Like, I wasn't even bothered.
The first goal was a good goal though.
Yeah,
the first goal was a very good goal.
But I don't think Liverpool were that.
No, we were bad.
No, we were in the game.
No, that's what I'm saying. In the sense of like, it wasn't like you could clearly see that they weren't trying.
I hear that, but the reason why I say we were bad, I'll run it down. Yeah, I'll run through the 11.
Do you remember having Endo last season? Do you remember loving Endo?
Endo had a good first half.
Listen,
am I lying?
No, he had a good first half.
Why are you talking? Listen, you should be worried about
we'll get onto
that segment's coming.
Yeah, if you want to cook now, we'll cook you later. So.
I'm saying, this is why you don't get congratulations.
Oh, why are you rolling your eyes? This is why. I'm not looking at them for the rest of the show.
Alisson was Alisson.
Yep.
Had a good game. I'm not going to fault him. Tsimikas was Tsimikas.
How often does he start though? Yeah.
He will have moments. The thing with Tsimikas is he has his moments. You have moments where he looks a good quality left back, but then he goes back to just being bozo.
Yeah.
He just makes mad decisions.
Definitely someone I think it is someone you're gonna.
Virgil just looked like I can't. I'm just hearing it. I'm just hearing it.
Another mistake.
Yeah. That I'll get to that. Quansah, I don't want to jump off the boat early, but he needs a big summer. He needs a very good preseason.
I think he goes on loan.
I don't think he's ready.
I think he stays.
I think he needs to play.
No. I don't want to jump out the window and be like he's not good enough.
First Prem game, he's putting on another Premier League t-shirt.
Needs a loan. I think that is.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's Prem.
No,
what are you saying?
A Prem team would take him. A Prem team would take him.
I don't know, man.
A Prem team would take him.
I think quality-wise, coming up would take him.
No, I wouldn't send him to Leeds. I would say.
So what do you say? Where's he going?
I would send him to
Top End Championship.
Yeah, I agree.
Wolves, Bournemouth.
A competitor. A league competitor.
Okay, like, just on that, yeah. What's his name?
Nat Phillips.
No, the guy at Brentford, the centre back we sold to Brentford.
Sepp van der Berg.
He's nowhere near Van der Berg yet.
No.
And that's why I don't think he's a Premiership defender. I think give him a season in Championship with a top 6 Championship team. then maybe have a look at it again. I just don't think he's ready for the Premiership.
I think
his concentration is not there.
I think last season was a purple patch, which is why you saw him start.
Yeah.
And then he got dragged at half time because Slot was like, "Oh, you're not ready."
Oh, and then he brought Konate on.
Yeah.
That game,
And then he hasn't been used
And he hasn't been used since, unless it was an emergency.
And if Gomez was fit, he wouldn't be touching pitch.
He would not touch the pitch.
Remember, Gomez had a good spell before he got injured when Konate was injured. So.
I don't want to be harsh because he's young, but I think he's not ready.
Okay, cool.
But I'll be honest, I think I see a chance for him going to a Prem team like a West Ham or Wolves.
Yeah, but that'll be a mistake from them.
No, but if you
that's his point.
Who's holding his hand at those teams? That's my point.
And those teams, I can't bring someone to hold your hand. I need two guys that are on this
team.
team.
But that's what it's about, though, isn't it? That's what it's about, though. Like getting thrown in at the deep end and learning from your.
You was thrown in at the
deep end. There's no deeper end than Liverpool.
You was thrown in at the deep end.
Liverpool are battling for top four.
Yeah. I think he has to play Prem football. That's why I think a new promoted team, even though they're going to get peppered, maybe that's the kind of thing.
But if you guys are right, a Prem loan seals his fate. Like if you guys are right and he leaves Liverpool
and goes to West Ham and
goes to a Prem team and has a madness, that's it.
It's done.
Championship now.
Done.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, of course not. Yeah,
but
it's
that's
done.
it.
Yeah.
Done.
Right? And going to a Championship loan, I don't think helps his development much because we always get told Championship ball is different ball.
Yeah.
So you're right. He needs to go to a Prem team. But if I'm listening to you two, he's not going to do all that ever.
Is it? Trent, I love him.
But he's in Madrid already.
His head's gone.
Yeah. He's in Madrid already.
He came off
his head is gone. Madueke was mugging him off left, right, and centre. Left, right, and centre.
Madueke like that, bro.
No, listen, it was bad. It was bad. And we know the saying Trent's defensive abilities are not as good as other right backs, or as they say you should be for a right back. He looked like he was on a beach in Madrid in his slippers, bro. He was getting mugged off. Bradley come on and instantly...
Someone in the comments is going to tell you there's no beach in Madrid, but go on.
Whatever. But listen, Bradley came on night and day. That right back, our right side was just...
Yeah.
Endo, you're right. Last season, I'd love for him, but I don't know if it's the confidence thing.
He had a good first half.
But then the second half...
Sometimes it's who you're playing against as well.
It's the levels, you know.
I agree with you. He had a good first half, but the second half, he looked like he was under pressure when he weren't even under pressure.
But that doesn't happen often.
And in midfield,
yeah, you know the one.
Overscanning.
I'll tell you what, in midfield, and it looks really bad in midfield. Where you put yourself under pressure in midfield, it looks so crazy.
You know when you just got mad panicky, like the ball's rolling under your foot, and you're like, a jittery central midfielder is
that's a very scary sight.
Scary hours.
Jones.
That's the worst I've been playing on.
That's what I'm about to say. That's the biggest upset today.
This is painful for him because he's been really Jones' advocate. This is painful for him.
I think Jones is good, but he was really bad.
One guy in my group. One guy in our group is not on Jones at all.
When I say good, what I mean is
he's a very good player.
To play for Liverpool, it's not just a good. He starts right, so I want to know what he's top at because you're starting for Liverpool. So what's he top at? To start in that team, you got to be.
So is Jordan Lescott looking a bit silly because he was calling him the best six at one point?
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, no, he's nowhere near that.
We all due respect to Jordan Lescott. I'm not listening to him.
Jones would call himself the best.
It's a consistency thing as well, isn't it? Like he's a good player, but he's clearly a player who needs a run in the team. Yeah. And when he has had that, he's looked really, really confident. But that hasn't been more than like 3 games.
I think also his positioning. To me, he's like an 8. He's an English 8 though. And I'll tell you the reason why. No, I'll tell you the reason why.
It is 4-4-2.
No, I'll tell you the reason why, yeah? No, let me make it. Let me make it.
I don't know what English is.
No, because you see that, do you remember that Ramsey? It's kind of like that more tenacious, running with the ball, like moving the team up that way. It's not really like touches or quality.
He's better than Ramsey.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. But the point is, he's not like that. But when he plays like a bit further down, he's meant to be kind of like next to the 6. When you have a bit more time, you need to be a bit more technical. That's where his game falls down. So you see, like when you're playing where Szoboszlai's been playing, he's okay. But whenever he's
he's
played
better in the 10.
wherever he's played where McAllister played, that's when he looks awful, and that's where he played today.
And the problem,
So that's what I
agree
mean
with
by
you.
that.
I agree with you because he thinks he has more time on the ball than
There
he
you go.
does.
And he thinks he's got more tech than he's got. Like, not even to be rude to him. No, it's the truth.
No, but his ball retention's good.
No,
but at that level,
his ball retention's good.
Ball
different.
retention is only one part of tech.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like even like how he passes the ball, how he takes the ball. Like he wants to do a little bit too much of it when actually he needs to know the right time to just like move the ball on really quickly.
And that's what McAllister's good at.
Yeah.
Right.
Really good at.
Right.
Yeah.
It's knowing when to pass, when to hold it, when to move it. I agree with you. I think in the 10, he's probably more effective because you've got more time to do those things. Whereas in the 6 or the 8, you need to move that ball quicker. You need to, your first thought is pivot, like why Ryan Gravenberch is so good at it, because he can pivot and move it.
And move it to the right place.
That's it.
And do the simple pass if he needs to, and then know when to
or
run and
carry
when
if
not
he
to run.
needs to.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not about carrying.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not actually about carrying.
Yeah.
Harvey Elliott, I'll be quick. Harvey Elliott. What do you think?
So the thing with Elliott, that you saw today why Slot doesn't trust him.
That's the two things.
And that's just because his off the ball work is nowhere near Szoboszlai.
No.
I know Szoboszlai gets a lot of criticism for like his assists
His
and
retention.
he's not flary, doesn't look techie.
But he's not in the team for on the ball. He's more
He's in the ball for his energy. Like if you look at the first goal from Chelsea today, it was from Elliott losing the ball, and then when Enzo scored, he wasn't even in the picture. Without Szoboszlai's next to Enzo because he knows he's got to get back. That's his role.
So I've got one question that covers the two of them though.
I think Harvey Elliott's best role would be a classic 10. So
luxury.
Floating.
Yeah.
Luxury.
You know,
Like
Ozil,
pockets.
a pockets player. That's what Harvey Elliott is.
Yeah, definitely.
So if your team's not set up to accommodate for a classic 10, a pocket player, he's not going to.
So Jones and Elliott,
they can't play in the same.
Do they need to leave to?
They can't play in the same team.
Do they need to leave to get? Because obviously they're both a certain age now. To get to that time, they want to be playing every week. That's not happening in Liverpool.
Where does Elliott go that accommodates him?
But
the modern game doesn't do that at the level he wants to play.
But however, sorry to cut in, I think you've got more choices of Elliott in your team than Jones. And what I mean by that, you can play Elliott wide.
Yeah.
As an 8 or as a 10.
And I understand that, but I think
for the level these don't want to do, I don't think.
You know
what? With Jones, I think Jones would ride it out as a bit part player because of his love for Liverpool. I think if any of the two leave, it will be Elliott would leave before Jones. I think the minutes that Jones gets, I'm not saying he's overly happy with it, but I think he'll be like.
Who do you think the club will have more use?
Who do you think the club will get rid of?
Elliott. They'll get rid of Elliott.
I think they'll pick Jones. I think they'll pick Jones.
No, they'll get rid of Elliott first, 100%.
I think they'll pick Jones. But just because Elliott is just got a bit more, you got a bit more options to Elliott.
But if I think about
the only thing Elliott lacks is strength and pace, like real pace.
Only?
He's quite techy.
He's a very good technical player.
And very good IQ.
I think he'd be suited. You see how McTominay's gone out to Napoli?
Go abroad.
I think Elliott go to Serie A or Spain, and he would do.
You know,
but off the ball work, they don't tolerate that in Italy. But God, you were going to say someone who Elliott could go.
I think he could go somewhere like Palace if they because I think Eze's going to go.
Yeah, that's true.
So I wouldn't. So you could probably put him there. I don't think you could play both of them because they're both kind of that languid. Like I think Eze covers a bit more ground, but I could see him being in one of the two kind of 10s off of like Mateta and do pretty well in a team like
the
that.
Elise role.
Yeah, but the only issue is I thought Fulham, but no, they've got Smith Rowe. So
they got Iwobi as well.
And they got Iwobi. You wouldn't duplicate that.
Yeah.
Wolves maybe, but again, I think he's probably above.
It's too big.
It's too big of a drop.
West Ham?
Nah,
they got Paqueta.
Brentford.
They wouldn't have me back. But that's going to be in Chelsea.
Brentford, you say that, but Damsgaard has been great this season. Damsgaard has been absolute quality this season.
But the difference between Damsgaard and Elliott, Damsgaard can move.
Yeah.
And there's no way I would take Elliott over Damsgaard.
Nope.
No way. So
yeah,
we can't just keep giving everyone to Spurs, man. Allow it.
To be fair, they need.
No,
They've
it's
got
true.
Maddison, so there's no.
But there's a wider conversation that we're not going to have it now. It's almost, are there players who are going to get left behind?
Yes.
Because of what the current thinking at the top level coach wise is needed, right?
Yes.
You know, and there's a conversation about that because even there was a bit of a celebration in the week Champions League wise, you know, with Enrique and Hansi Flick because people were saying, you know, the attractive football is back. You know, the tacticos, the Artetas, and all of that. They've been ruling the game for too long, making it a bit boring. Yeah, Barcelona might concede 5, but they'll score 7 type vibes, and same with PSG. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of a combo with players like Elliot. There's a few others that I can think of where it's like, whoa, if you want to play at the top level, you're gonna have to change a little bit, because Martinelli is a great example. I think in years gone by, he doesn't stay in a team fighting for Champions League and Premier League with his attacking output just because without the ball he's elite. Yeah. That wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. His attacking output would not allow him to play in a team that's competing at a level back in the day. But now, because of what his foot is required, he gets to stay there. Anyway, look, this loss didn't matter. But for Chelsea, it came at the right time.
No, for real. It's huge.
Came at the right time. And, you know, they've won the last 3, drawn 2. So the last 5, they've quietly picked up their form and rescued you back a bit. So yeah, they're 5th, as we talked about, level on points with Newcastle. They've put some breathing space between themselves and Forest. But again, if Forest win tomorrow, then we're gonna have 3 teams on 63 points. And this might be the best Champions League shuffle we've had in a while. You know,
man.
Yeah. Question: if Chelsea don't get top 5, they win the Conference League, which we expect. Is Maresca gone?
Nope.
Yeah. Yes.
No.
He might not go, but I think he should go.
I don't think so.
I don't think he's good enough.
Really? I think he's done well with that mess.
I don't know, man.
I don't think he's
considering what he was doing at the one stage, like they could have gone top. Do you remember when they could have gone top?
December.
They've fallen down quite a bit. I know they've slightly steadied it recently, but they've lost some really crucial games. You want to talk about other teams dropping off? Like Chelsea's drop off this season has been huge from where they were tracking at one point to where they came down. Maybe that would be expected. But
what's the perspective though? So the reason why I say that is when I look at what that team was at the start of the season, he even told us at the start of the season, where even when they were doing all of that, listen. He was saying, listen, don't be fooled. It's a long season. I know the squad I've got. I'm not sure. I think it would be. To be fair, I'm with Isaac in terms of I wouldn't be surprised if he went. But I think with everything that's going on there, with all the kind of stuff he had to work through, I think he's done a good job for an inexperienced manager with the situation he's in. I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and we look at and he picked up a bit of off the back of what Poch did. I think towards the end of Poch's time, he was sorting it out. So he kind of had a little bit of a blueprint there. But, you know, this team just buying players, Sancho turning up. He did what he needed to do about, whilst I don't agree with the way he did it, Chilwell, Sterling, all of that. But that could have gone bad. You're dashing out very experienced players. You know, Ben Chilwell wasn't rubbish overnight. And he had to do, and I reckon that was a club thing, personally. I think that's a money thing. Whatever anyone wants to tell us, that wasn't just him. That was an upstairs thing. You had to deal with all of that. If they finish 6th, it's progress on last season, number 1. It's better than last year.
It's progress, but you don't spend all that money on such talent to just finish 6th.
No, but they'll tell you the money they spent is for the long term. They didn't buy anyone else ready made.
I understand that. And I understand that, but it's not like you bought a couple of talent, a couple players, a couple, you know, potentials. You bought 2 squads worth almost over a number of years. I'm not saying just in that one season, but over a period, you've bought 2 squads worth of talent. You should be able to find a squad strong enough to challenge. So
you think that squad is one of the 5 best squads in the Premier League?
Yes.
Based on potential and talent.
I don't think so.
And ability.
Based on potential, but not on paper.
The reason why I say it's not is because everyone from the beginning of the season looked at their goalkeeper and their defence as an issue. So even though they spent out money, we looked at who they brought in as the centre-backs and saying, well, they're not levels. We knew they weren't level from the beginning. And then we're expecting them to go on and do wonders, and they haven't had Reece James.
But I look at the balance of the rest of their team, though, bro. Like, there's definitely you can improve that area. But we talk about their whole squad.
Yeah,
that's one of the top 5 squads in the league.
Easily.
Okay, so let me
and just all right, just on paper.
Yep.
Forget injuries.
Yeah.
Reece James, Levi Colwill, Wesley Fofana, and Cucurella or Chilwell.
And I was about to come to injuries as well. But
or Chilwell. That's a solid back four.
But I bet you
I
that
don't
back
agree.
four hasn't played together this season. So
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I said on paper.
Yeah, no.
On
Fair,
paper.
fair.
Colwell, you put Colwell in there.
No, he's on paper. He's on the paper. He's on the paper.
He said
He's part of the squad.
on paper.
Yeah, he's part of the squad.
No, but we know they're not
that's
on
competent. Like I don't rate Colwell,
That's their best back four.
but if you say that's their best back four,
Easy.
it can definitely be upgraded.
You can't argue that.
It can definitely be upgraded. But if
But
you
that's not good enough, though.
No, but before
Like, we're not saying
if it's good enough. We should have played.
But before Chelsea played, before we saw what Colwell did in the Chelsea shirt, let's be clear. After going to Brighton or that, we all thought he was a certain level. Let's be fair.
I never.
Okay, Oracle, no problem. But
Right, but I think regardless of the level,
No, but injuries, unfortunately, injuries just played it.
But I think the answer to your question, to answer a question with a question is, do we think that at the beginning of the season, the hierarchy's expectations with Maresca was Champions League qualification?
Yes.
I don't think so.
yes.
I don't think so.
I think it was.
I think it was.
I think it was.
And I think that's reflected in. I don't think it was. And I think that's reflected in some of their signings and some of the things that they did. So you want to get Champions League, you tell him to get rid of some of his most experienced players, right?
Remember, they were borderline PSR though. Remember, they could still get a hit.
But and they kept signing players. Then you went and got
But
Sancho, and then
they signed up here as the young players on that longer term. So it was
Mhm.
almost a way of flipping it. They got
What
rid
about
of
Sancho?
I hear that, but they still got rid of they still got rid of more experienced players to then
Yeah, they did
essentially
turn on
bring
their
it in as
profit.
well.
Yeah.
And then even with that, they brought Sancho in for some of his wages, not all
Yeah,
of it, right?
true.
And then remember they offloaded Sterling
Yeah.
for some of it as well. So
I think the expectation was Europa League at a very minimum, right? And you might be right, but I would just be surprised. Like if they really take an objective footballing view to it, I'd be really surprised if after everything that's happened,
I'm not saying they will.
I'm expecting you to get Champions League this
Do
year.
you know what? The reason why I think Champions League was the expectation, they wouldn't have got rid of Pochettino. For me, they'd have just said, look, we've got all these players. This is a project. We're going to give you time to build.
But if we listen to Pochettino,
we've spent this money. We've got you this talent and ability. We've had to move players on, like I said, because of PSR and the fact that we can now amortize these players over a longer period to bring our PSR down, right? We've therefore given you the best with what we can. That's our expectation. You're not doing it, right? You go, Maresca.
So the thing I would say to that
you think you can do it.
is two things. One, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the Pochettino leaving also friction from Pochettino's side? It wasn't just about performance. It was more like, I think the realities of how the club's running. And I think, secondly, to your point, they were saying, listen, this is how we're going to carry on. So I'm not going to go and knock on the door and buy you whoever. This is what Pochettino might have wanted. And I think Todd Bowley said himself, he said, listen, what we're building is a stable of young players who are going to have certain value going forward, right? But we're going to do it in a way, have certain management. That means we don't jump off a cliff, but that kind of trajectory upwards is going to be more slow and steady. He said that. He's basically saying what they're saying is we're going for younger players who are going to become saleable assets later on. So the trade-off for that is we're not going to be clapping down the door. You know, we're not going to be clapping down Chelsea's door or, Liverpool's door, whatever else. So, look, I'm just saying from the outside in, I'd be really surprised if they said Champions League. But you might be right.
And the reason why I think it was Champions League was because of Encenzio.
Also, you think they made Champions League his target?
Who?
Mendes, Enzo. Sorry,
Fernandes, not Mendes either.
I'm
sorry.
Thank you. Enzo, Calcedo, Palmer,
Lavia.
and then
what was Lavia? 50 million?
He had a good game today,
and the
He's
striker
a good player.
Very.
Jackson. Yeah, and that's a good core. All right, and then mostly thought Colwell as well as part of that core was enough to push them for CL positions. I definitely think CL was the, because look at Poch end to the season before. It was a solid end. It actually had a good structure.
It got
Sterling working. It was a Europa League finish, innit? They only got pushed down because
of United.
United winning
and it was a
the
solid
FA Cup.
finish, and Calcedo started to perform and etc. So I think CL was a target for them.
Okay, fair.
And it just hasn't worked.
Because they finished 6th last year, right?
Yeah.
So
I thought they finished 7th.
That's why.
It was United winning the cup that pushed them down to the Conference League.
Yeah, even them hiring Maresca again. Didn't go for a proven coach. Didn't pay the big bucks.
Yeah, I think that's why.
But didn't he win the championship with Leicester?
Yeah, but that's
So we're not just all right. I'm proven in the Prem, but we're winning someone that
he's unproven at the top level.
Yeah, no, but we got.
He's got
If we're saying that players playing in Championship saying it's not the Prem, you got to do it same for the managers.
That's what I'm saying. So if you wanted Champions League football, you wouldn't go for a guy who's never managed in the Premier League before. So they must have a certain medium-term expectation. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to counter that company.
What about him?
Yeah, he's gone to
You understand? I'm going to counter. Even though company was on top of it, he's gone to Bayern and he's won the league. So
Bro, that's an anomaly, bro.
Look at the league comparison. Like,
come on, bro.
He's gone to Bayern.
He won it.
I
You
could
could win
go to
the league with
Bayern.
Bayern.
Don't do that.
No, but what I'm saying is they're expecting him from Leicester to Chelsea to finish.
That was a nasty example, by the way. That example was nasty. You knew what he was doing. No, don't get me wrong. Lots of people get to fail upwards. I'm happy a black man has failed upwards.
And speaking of unproven, Arsenal brought in Arteta.
Yeah, and what was I saying at the time? What was I saying at the time?
But still,
and I've been proven right.
Oh, do you want to talk about it?
We'll get there.
Anyway.
I feel like that's next anyway.
So, anyway,
we go through the previews.
Chelsea have kept themselves in the mix with their recent form.
Main event.
Let's see what happens there. And like I said, this Champions League battle has probably been the best for a while. And then let's come to a club who are now unnecessarily in the Champions League battle, not necessarily to qualify, but where they're going to finish. And everyone says it doesn't matter second or fifth, but I'm pretty sure, don't you have to qualify now? If you're fifth,
I don't think you need to
or it's just straight through, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That would have been an extra piece of banner, yeah? Imagine, you finish fourth. What do you
extra game?
But yes, Arsenal lost at home to Brentford. Bournemouth, sorry. I'm so apoplectic, I don't care who it was. 2-1. And it's just...
It's a joke.
You know what's funny? Someone predicted in the week, someone said, oh yeah, in the last man standing thing, he had another team. They said, no, I'm changing it. I want to pick Bournemouth. I said, wow. And I just said, this is where your team is at now, mate. People feel confident that Bournemouth are going to come to the Emirates and win.
Should we start at the beginning then? Line up.
No. Yes, let's start at the beginning. When you say line up, go on.
So...
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Yeah,
no, so maybe last week's pod, I think Isaac and I said, depending on the result against PSG, it'll be interesting what lineup Arsenal put out.
Yes.
I'm so shocked.
And I think we both said, if you lost that game, played kids, like you don't play the big guns, innit? When I saw all the man them,
but you know why?
Like,
but you know why I think he did that?
What?
It's a hangover from the last game. If we didn't draw 2-2 with Palace and needed the points, I want to say
he's still playing them.
I don't think, if we won against Palace, I don't think you see basically the PSG.
I agree.
No,
team is going to have a
I slightly hear that,
I agree.
But you could...
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It was
you still
like
play the
Saturday,
kids, but I'm
Saturday
just
was
trying
like
to
a
think
small free hit, a little bit. Like you could have played a weakened team, and if you'd lost it, everyone would like, well, we got Wednesday coming up.
Yeah,
it's
but the
cool.
conversations we're all having now about points and maybe not finishing second, they will have done all of that, right? So only getting 1 point last week instead of 3, he's thinking, oh, listen, I know we've got a game next week, but...
Do you know what? Do you know what's mad though?
Yeah.
To that point, you're not going to fall out of the top 4.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
No, I agree, yeah.
So Champions League is pretty much wrapped up. It doesn't matter whether you finish second, third, or fourth.
Yep, off
right?
I think it does.
No.
It matters from a money point of view, but
it might matter from a revenue point of view and also a pot point of view.
Yeah.
Right? But let's be honest, you're Arsenal. You're not Chelsea or Aston Villa where that does kind of matter, or Newcastle. You're Arsenal, right? You've got the squad, you've got the manager, you've got the ability to handle whatever you're thrown at.
Bruv.
And if you win the Champions League, all of that goes out the window anyway.
Yeah, it don't matter.
It don't matter. All of that goes out the window because you're now... Wait, hold on. All of that goes out the window because you're the champions.
Yeah.
So the revenue's up,
the
seeding, you get the best seeding.
Yeah.
So all of that goes out the window.
Yeah.
PSG rested 8 players. They played earlier in the day.
They won the league as well. But can I say something to you? I think it definitely does make a huge difference whether we finish second or not.
Why?
Because what you got to factor in is we've been the team who's meant to have been like pressurising Liverpool for this season. We spent the whole year in second. This is the worst City that we've seen for ages. We've seen Nottingham Forest come up here as well. If this City finishes above Arsenal, banter.
But do you want to tell you why none of that matters? Because if you win the Champions League, that eclipses everything.
I know, but internally...
That eclipses everything. I'm with you.
No, I hear you, but...
You've never won it.
Yeah.
You're...
Throw the statistic at it.
It's never like we're battling for the title. The title's a big what?
The title's gone.
How many points? What's the gap now?
15 points at the moment.
Bro, look at who that guy is. That guy probably doesn't want to lose a race to the bathroom, bruv.
No.
He was never doing that.
No, but even I understand your point and it will erase it, but there's no guarantee we're going to do that.
There isn't,
but increase the probability.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I don't think we should play that. But to John's point, if you see our home form recently, we drew at home to Brentford when we were 1-0 up. We drew at home to Crystal Palace. You take those 4 points, we could play the kids because we would have secured second. No, but hold on, securing second is really important because again, we made the joke earlier on. Finishing third in a 2-horse race is madness. Tottenham, it happened to Tottenham in 2016, and we'll say, it's not a big deal, but we know that's the first thing that people are going to do. They're going to jump on someone's neck. So that's why finishing second is important because again,
to who though? To us?
Thank you.
No. I think it's important
because if that's important to Arteta,
I think it's important to Arteta, but for different reasons.
No, but let me show you the reason why. Because you also got to factor in is we finished second with 89 points. We finished second with 84 points. Okay. We're now on 70. We now the max we can make is 76 points. That's a massive drop off.
Yeah.
It's a massive drop off. And again, I want to say something
to
Liverpool.
In another area.
No, but that's not guaranteed though. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I look.
I understand because this goes back to the Aston Villa point of the Champions League qualification.
Yeah.
Or whatever else.
Yeah.
So the parallel is that the finishing second, your point was the drop off, right? Points in your drop off. But if we guarantee second, everything else is a bonus, right?
Yeah, and I think if we're guaranteed
second.
But I think if we're mathematically guaranteed second and not drop those points, he would have been able to relax. Yeah. But I think it's important to Arteta, but not for the reasons Ash said. I think, managers, they obsess about, rightly so, points, how many points have we taken per average per game, all of this kind of stuff, right? There will be certain pressure as well to professionally, just to finish as high up the table as possible. And I honestly think that Brentford game, that Palace game, you win those games, you still wouldn't have seen the team I would have picked yesterday. But you wouldn't have had that team starting.
Yeah, that team was
it's literally, apart from...
That's your starting lineup.
Apart from Ben White, everybody there is starting on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And Trossard.
Mental.
Yeah. And it's not even him starting them, it's the amount of time he plays them for.
Saka 85 minutes, Declan Rice 74 minutes.
The Saka one,
I can't understand.
I think it's
getting
him back in the wheels, but I still...
Martinelli.
He should have even started.
This is why I loved Mourinho.
Yeah, he didn't
because he'd have gone 1-0 up.
Yep,
and locked up shop.
Imagine Mourinho with 5 subs. He would have lined them all up at the time. What? Yo, man, 1-0 up. He would have just said, right, hey, 6 centre-backs.
But you know what? I want to make a real point about it versus kind of like what is kind of like, say, a successful season and what is a good season, right? Because a successful season could be winning a trophy. It doesn't mean you've had a good season, right? And I think
a good season is consistency.
This is what I'm saying. So this is why the drop-off in the league numbers and the wins and the performances and the amount of like games that we've gone up and we've lost points in
21 points
actually is. And it shows actually there's been a real fundamental flaw in the league this year. And we're going to talk about injuries, whatever. I don't buy that. We've definitely not been where we needed to be. Now, I've also felt that as much as we've done all right in the Champions League and stuff like that, there's a level of intensity that we kind of still required for this game. And we haven't had that. And I think even when we played in that game yesterday, a lot of them were playing like they were thinking about Wednesday.
No, 100%. That is exactly it.
So it shouldn't have been done. But the point is, we've been now put into the system because we've done so poorly in the league, especially in the last few weeks. We've won 3 games out of 10.
And also
in the running.
See what man was saying about. But you see what man was saying about Villa's squad not being ready. This is the other point for me. Clearly, the money you spent, you've not spent it well enough.
Yes,
because even with the injuries, we've not coped in the way we should have.
Yeah,
and even with a lot of your first team still fit, you've not coped with a deep Champions League run. You haven't had to do that FA Cup because you got knocked out of that early again. You got Newcastle dealt with us at the Carabao Cup early. So that also is indicative of a couple of things like you said. And my big gripe with this, I know I always make it about Arteta, etc. My big issue is in the Arsenal fan base, when you even try and criticize Arteta, people will find every single reason
data
why he's done well. Bro, he's done well, but it is his first job, right? And I think, and I've said this to you, I said it before, very few people get from their dip or their wobble back to the top with one, sometimes even two managers. It takes 3, 4 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's anything wrong in saying Arteta has done a good job
for
his first job, but maybe he ain't got the minerals to cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Right?
I think that shows.
But I think that's a fair assessment. But if you mutter that into the Arsenal universe, bruv, you will get lynched.
It's getting to the levels, isn't it? Because like you say, he came in and like your squad was in disarray. Got you to challenging second for the first time, unexpectedly. I don't think anyone expected you that.
Nope.
You'd say Champions League, we'll take that, kick on from there.
Yeah.
Then last season, you're like, right, what can we do? And like you got knocked out of the Champions League at the quarterfinals, at Bayern, and managed to kind of do the Prem running.
Yeah.
That's fine. Where this year now you've kind of got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, but haven't been able to manage the Premiership running. And if you want to be of the elites, where Liverpool, Manchester City have been able to get to finals of the Champions League and be consistent enough in the league, I don't think he's the person to be able to balance that.
And I agree with that. And just to add to it, people will say, "Oh yeah, but if he goes somewhere else," and that's my point. There's all the different factors. He may not be the guy with what you have at Arsenal to get that team across the line. He may go Barcelona tomorrow in the Champions League because he's got different things there. And I think there's points where we can see just managing the game. We go back to last season. There's 2 or 3 games you can point to, and you can say those are the points that you win the league. Like you can point to it. So I just think he just makes certain decisions. And when I point to his inexperience, people think I'm being negative, derogatory. I'm not. I'm just stating facts. He's 6 years into the role, bro. He's done really well.
His only trophy came with a team that wasn't his.
But he still had to do the job of managing.
I agree. But you can't slander Slot for that and not do it. Use that against Arteta.
But anyone who says that about Slot is being lazy.
Yeah. No. But let's be honest. No,
this whole team business.
No,
a bit lazy.
No, let's be honest.
Yeah,
it is the same team, bar one player.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But he still had to come in and identify Gravenberch as the 6 and also make slight tactical tweaks and then get us through the season. So the same with Arteta. The question now on Slot will be, can he do it now? Can he now build a squad of his own making? Because it's been very honest and very clear that there's certain players that he does not trust.
Yeah.
Right? So now...
He said that publicly?
No, he hasn't said it publicly, in a roundabout way.
Them Dutchmen don't play.
They don't.
Did you see the interview with Gullit?
No, they don't
Some
play.
of them are really obvious though.
Yeah.
Some of them are obvious.
But so now bringing that back to Arteta, he had a squad that was Emery built, and he came in, and like you said,
was it even Emery?
No, but like you said, he might not be the guy right here, but he might go somewhere else and do it. So Emery couldn't get Arsenal over the line. Arteta come in and got you over the line, then started to build a squad in his image.
Yes,
and it's not worked. It's not working so far, right? So my point is,
I think it's worked.
But it's
not, because the aim is to win a trophy.
But it's worked from where we were to where we are now.
He's got them to a point of consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not got them to a point of crossing the line.
Exactly. And my thing is maybe
it's someone else now.
He's not the guy to cross the line, or other factors need to change. All I want to do is to be able to consider that him changing is one of those factors. That's all I want. But as soon as you mention that, people want to chop your head off.
Because I want to go back to a point that has been clearly raised. It's about kind of like the squad makeup.
Yeah.
And I think he's a big part of the squad makeup.
Yeah, especially with his preparation. Yeah.
And stuff like that. But then also we need to look at the kind of physical players who we can call on, right?
Yeah.
So we knew that Saka was out in December. We knew Jesus was out from the start of Jan, and I think Havertz was the end of Jan.
Yeah, before the window closed.
We clearly knew where we were at, and at no point did we make suitable arrangements to
Watkins was there. We could have done the Watkins thing, but we didn't.
And there's so many things, and I think I'm not an apologist for Arteta. Like the furthest thing from that as well. And it was really interesting, the message that you sent me this week. It seems like you've kind of fully come round to some of the more negative views around him as well. Yeah. I'm not saying you haven't, but I remember you being one of his chief supporters at one stage, right? Cool. I'm just saying that's cool. And that's fine. But the key thing that I've always said is this: okay, the squad is set up a certain way. You now need to utilize what we do have. And why is Nwaneri not playing? Why is it you're bringing him in for 3 minutes? You know, it has to change that.
That was bad.
It's so obvious. And I just think that like we're all sitting here and we're just like, But then I look at something like kind of like Wednesday, right? Thomas Partey getting a stupid yellow card is not his fault.
Yeah.
That's not his fault.
But yeah, I'm hearing fans blaming him for it.
But now how you adapt to it is the biggest issue. For me, the moment I saw Rice as the 6, I knew we were going to struggle in that game. And it felt
Marino.
It just felt like what
the 8.
I just
see Marino. I thought you should have. This is what I thought you should have done with that situation. Play Timber left back, play Ben right, and play Skelly as the 6. And then 3.
Yeah.
But be brave. Even if you changed like an hour in and said, all right, I'm going to be a bit brave.
And like John has said this a couple of times. For one absence, he makes so much adjustments for one absence.
Bruv.
And you think for a manager, for his he's not, like you say, he's not a bad manager.
No way.
He's got that pet overthinking gene. And he's like, what do I do?
It stinks
like part him being missing shouldn't be that much of an adjustment. Saka being missing, for as good as he is, shouldn't be that much of an adjustment.
No, I disagree with because he's basically outside.
No, but I understand that.
I think if Salah was missing, you would make a suitable adjustment.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
not even. We'd just stick someone out right.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Harvey Elliott goes out right, or Diaz goes out.
To be fair, he played Nwaneri.
Eventually, he got there. Eventually, he got, but it took too long for him to get there.
Yes,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I think for the absentees that you have, it's like it's a massive problem where a team of Arsenal's caliber for the last 2 years, it shouldn't be. You should just have a solution to slot in there.
But
whether that's be
because like, all right, the reason why I say he overthinks it, look at the defense. He just put Kiwior. He just put Kiwior.
That's what you got to do.
I think he was forced to just do that though.
Yeah, but
I think if he had options,
to
they'd
do
be
some
tinkering.
So
he just had to
remember
put
that season when
Kiwior.
Saliba got injured. He started playing holding, and everyone knew holding wasn't good enough. And then he was like, I'm just gonna play 2 left-footed. I'm centre backs now. And then
Kiwior. But even then, I think the issue why I've consistently had with Arteta is I do worry about our overall attacking like impetus.
And we're not creating chances.
And why I say that is because I can kind of see if we do the routine stuff and we overload that right hand side and Ben White's bombing on and Saka and Odegaard do their triangles, I know what that looks like. I can always look at kind of like what a carbon copy Arsenal move looks like. What I've never seen is that kind of like, okay, off the cuff piece. And what he's done is he's never gone out and signed the off the cuff players.
That's not him. That's not his making.
Trossard, putting Martinelli in there as well, Havertz, it's all of those kinds of things. And that's why when I'm speaking about some of the players earlier on who we're speaking about, I'm like, at no point has he ever really allowed those players who could do that really be of promise. He gives it to Odegaard, but even then with Odegaard is like, I just want you to kind of keep us sticking. The control piece as well. What Liverpool have done and what a couple of teams have done better than us is they know the ability to win. It's like, it's not about trying to control a match, it's about trying to win a game. We want to control every single match, regardless of what the game state. It's nuts for me. Like even yesterday when we were down, like we're doing the same movement that hasn't done anything for the whole game. Why are we not? And I don't know whether it's on him. I don't know if it's on the players.
I think no. All right. Do you want me to say why I think it's on him and him alone?
I think it's 95%.
Do you remember the makeup of the squad that he inherited?
Yes.
And the players?
Yes.
Who did he have a problem with? Or what kind of players did he have a problem with?
Yes.
What kind of players did he get rid of straight away?
Yeah, enigmatic.
And then now if you look at his squad, what kind of makeup of that squad is?
Yeah, it's all very
disciplined.
Very disciplined,
very systematic.
Yeah,
very systematic.
Players,
Diligent.
They're the kind of players, the kind of team that is in his image.
Yeah.
You come in and do what I'm the manager. You play how I want you to play, and you do as I say. Right? And anyone that bucks that, out the door.
And then your expression comes in doing the thing I told you to do. So within this narrow piece, so that's why he likes. So he's talked about a couple of times, when he's talked about Nwaneri, when you're that young, you come on, and the first thing you do is try and take on 2 or 3 players. I was even surprised to hear him say that because I was thinking, I didn't imagine you'd be the kind of guy that's on the bench smashing the water bottle because he didn't do X or didn't do Y. So even Lewis Skelly, some of the risks he takes, etc. Again, he's happy with that because where's he doing it? Well, he's inverted, he's done X, he's done Y. So I think that's loosening a little bit. But I'm with you. He's very rigid.
He's very rigid in that final third,
bro.
Yeah,
but he has his favourites,
and that's the point. So if you go back to last week, Salah said, Slot's come in and said, "Don't worry about defending.
Yeah,
them man will do it."
Yeah.
Where none of your attackers have that freedom.
Yeah.
And if you got someone like I would chop off my right arm for Saka right now. Yeah. Like that's how good Saka is.
Imagine if Saka never had to track back.
If Saka never had to stand next to Timber or Ben White, the amount of freedom
Salah.
But this goes back to Ash's point. He would argue that part of our success with what we've got is because we control the games that way. That's why we've got the best defense, blah, blah, blah. I'll be honest with you.
But then
it's easy for me to say as an uneducated...
You've not won anything.
But that's what I'm about to say. It's easy for me to say as an uneducated fan, yeah? Bruv, ban your best defense. The team that's won the league have got the second best defense in the league. But they're number one in the league, though, innit?
Yeah.
So, and I also think there's so many layers. Like the other thing with him, and if he was sat here, he wouldn't say public because you're diminishing your players. He might argue that some of him sticking to certain things is because
of
he hasn't got available.
Yeah.
But to your point, be brave. At this point, Lewis Skelly has proved not in his position that he's got a certain level of capability. He might say, well, he can't play his position at the highest level. Evidence otherwise may disagree with that. Wanyeri would play Odegaard's role very differently to what he plays. And the way Odegaard's been playing for the last since August, basically, is not good enough. I don't think it was the best captain pick. I think that's looking like a poor decision in hindsight, personally, right, for what the squad needs. But I think he has enough tools. I would agree with him that he hasn't got enough to do anything crazy, but he definitely has enough tools to be more flexible than he's being now 100%. And not bring on someone with the talent of Ranieri in the 86th minute.
I think and do you know what it is for me? It's this whole system ball. Yeah. I think Arteta is a system manager.
No,
100%. I think he's from the school of Pep. Yeah. Pep is a system manager.
And I think he helped Pep become more system and that kind of thinking. Because Pep has always been honest and said, yeah, I need the best players to do what I'm doing. He's been honest. He's never hid it.
He's never hidden.
But
I have a style of football which is heavily influenced by Johan Cruyff, and there needs to be a certain level of player in order to
do the system and then execute it.
That's the word. To execute the style of play, right? Arteta's come along and at first he was very system, and it was then like beginning of last year, was it this season, he's moved to like bigger players and set pieces and all of this, and it's just like, and like I said, controlling the game and like having dominating your opponent and trying to just wear them down, and almost like what you said about City when they used to dominate, move left to right and blah, 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 and just try to pick teams off, and it's like Arsenal are the same, but you don't have the players to dominate or replicate what City did. So what is your plan A? Plan B, sorry.
Going forward, he should have just made small tweaks to his 22-23 team. Because the football you played in 22-23 was fluid. Like, it was exciting, innit? And you don't really get that with Arsenal anymore.
No, you almost know how
we're going to score
because of the control thing.
Yeah.
But the only thing I will back him up on that is then that's where you need player performances, right? Yeah. So Odegaard. Yeah. But I personally think he's still suffering some kind of effects from that injury, man. But I honestly think, because even his running numbers aren't what they used to be.
And I think there's issues to cut, and I think the other issue adding to that is you've had moments to rest those guys. Yeah.
To let them recover, and you haven't rested them and rotated.
How long was keep calling Saka's going to break down?
But have you said it?
Yeah, we said it.
His hamstring injury is on Arteta.
Yeah,
100%. Remember the game's the 3-0 and the Saka's still on the pitch. Bro, get him off.
It's not even that. It's even after the Euros. Remember we're back after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's dumb. And I just look at it as well, and I think, especially like we talk about Martinelli, right? Martinelli had a really good season. I think a lot of it is down to Xhaka being in that role, right?
Yeah.
Left what he was able to kind of do. And actually Martinelli was doing good defensive work then, but Xhaka covered a little bit more on that side. Yeah. So what you then found is that Martinelli was maybe like 10 or 15 yards higher up. Yeah. Teams were pressed up a bit. Perfect scenario, right? Saka again. We've now got this weird bit where we've kind of put Rice in 8, and I think that's where his best position is. I like him doing that, right? But what we have done with that is, because of the nature of the striker that we've got, there's a bit of a limit in terms of like the movement and the threat in behind.
Yes.
So what then happens then is there's less space here to play in, which makes it harder for someone like Ødegaard and those players to play there as well.
And you don't have that fear factor of them breaking through your high line.
There you go. So it's just so many little things. And I was like, if there's no, and like Martinelli isn't being told to run that way.
Yeah.
If he ran that way a few more times and moved it back, there'd be more space here. But he's not. He's being asked to be controlled and bring it back in and recycle the ball. So because he's never going that way, teams aren't going that way.
Mm-hmm.
So just by doing that, you create 5 more yards of space. Ødegaard does stuff. I think he's been awful for the whole season.
Yeah.
I do think the ankle injury is part of it, but I also think there comes a stage where
you need the coach to
move
the environment.
You know,
it is as well. You have to do that, let him play out.
No, but you don't have game changers. And I feel like Arteta and his system are punishing game changers, right?
Yeah.
So here's the system.
Yeah.
Stick to it.
Yeah.
If you deviate from that, there's punishment or there's consequences. And that's why your games look the same no matter what.
But our game changers aren't in the areas to change the game.
Exactly.
And also, I think, and I don't even think it's punishment. I think, again, when I think back to what we've heard over the years from people that have played with Pep, these guys are too young yet. We might hear it later. Is they always just say, Pep will tell you this is what's going to happen in the game. If you do X, Y, Z is going to happen.
Yeah.
So they trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the point is they're trusting Arteta. If I look at all the players in this team, these last 2 seasons have been the most successful of their careers today, really, right? A lot of them are young, for Declan Rice to step up, etc. So they've got no reason not to, right? For now, an interesting comment was made in one of our football groups the other day. Saka's going to sign a new contract probably. Cool. But as things stand today, has he got any reason to sign another one? Bro, if the club is not...
We don't win something.
Bruv, we have to win something. And to the point the boys have made, the type of football, the way we do that 23 flavour has to come back. Otherwise, if you're Saka, bruv, when Madrid, these people come calling, I'm off.
I think his
and other people, Rice. Bruv, Rice is not too young to get another move,
I think Arteta's mitigating factors are injuries. I think he's going to hide behind that. Like Jesus. I'm not saying it's right, but I think he's going to say Jesus took away Saka being gone for, and he will compare Saka to Vinicius, to Dembele.
Did you hear his new one? He said, those sending-offs we had in the first 15 games of the season, the rules were very different after the next 15. I said, nah, listen, you need to be working for Disney Plus. So I don't know how you came up with that one. That's his new one.
And I think, and there is some truth in that. Like, that's going to be his high mitigating factor.
I think the main factor is the squad build's been poor.
The squad build's terrible.
That's it.
Every team can. The referees have been dead the whole season.
Yeah.
We can point to every team in the top 6 and they can give you 2 or 3 stories. We're not unique in that respect.
100% not. 100% not.
If you go from like your 21, 22 season to now.
Yeah.
So the season before you
who've added to it.
Yeah.
Like what have you really done to make your first team that
Stronger.
much better?
Yeah.
Like Saliba's come in.
Yeah.
Timber and Rice.
Timber, the keeper.
Now Timber's been a great signing.
Yeah, so Rice, Timber, Saliba.
Raya.
I don't think Raya's been a great signing.
What? No, so you've made what?
I don't think he's been a great
four first team signings.
No,
he's been a good
Raya's
signing.
been a great
He's
signing.
been a good signing.
So you've made like really 4 first team signings to kind of
No, I think Havertz has been a good signing as well.
Yeah. No,
He has
he
been.
has.
He has
You may
been.
not like
I don't
him,
think for the-
but
so-
he's been good.
He's
so
been
if-
good.
if, like I know we do.
So the return he gave, was you expecting Havertz before he got injured?
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be great.
You
But
go, I'll go.
no, but I think if you compare like Liverpool, so before Liverpool won the Champions League, if you look at the season before they won the Champions League to when we finally won the league, our team changed drastically. And I think Arsenal have been at fault for not doing the recruitment right to get a squad where if you get injuries, you should
But
be
you
able
just
to
said
do.
he should have just added to the edges of the previous squad. Now you're saying he should have changed it entirely.
No, but I'm saying like
it's figuratively speaking. He's basically saying Liverpool, you could see the changes.
Oh,
right?
okay.
But
Yeah.
Arsenal,
There's only been like 4 major changes.
Yeah, I think
in
they were trying to
in 4
build it.
years.
Like, I think Arteta's thing was more evolution than.
But you got to parachute in the man them, get over the line.
So on that point, yes. Okay, so So Kai
But
Havertz.
Rice was probably.
Let's have a discussion about this guy. So you're saying he's a good signing, right?
Yeah.
You're saying he's a good signing.
Yeah, he's not the signing I wanted, but he's done better than I expected. Yeah.
Okay, so better than I expected.
Yes. But I believe he's a good signing.
He's done what
Okay, cool.
I think you should expect.
Better than expected and being a good signer are two separate things, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I qualified. I think he's been a good signing.
We signed him to be a central midfielder.
Yeah.
Let's not
like the default in it. Like,
because of circumstance, because of injuries and stuff like that, he's now kind of gone upstairs and gone forward
Yeah.
into a forward position. Okay, that's fine. He may have been adequate. He may have done certain things, but we still look at that position saying, well, that's the first place that we wanted to upgrade this summer. And we continually are looking for that upgrade in that position because he's not going to play central midfield anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I find it hard to call him a good signing because his main purpose of what he was to come in for, he's been moved out of, and we're still looking to upgrade that position. So I think he can be an adequate. He was adequate for what we wanted to do at that time, but I don't think he's actually deemed as a good signing. Cool, because we still need a 9.
No, but adding to what Keith is saying, Keith is saying, you add on top of that. So you bring him in. He's been a good signing, and you add another quality on top of that. That's something different profile.
A different profile. The right word. I don't know if you can say he's good.
He's a good signing.
So the reason why I say he's a good signing is because output to date,
he's up there.
He's been good for what we paid for him and output to date. I think over time, if you ask me this again in a year, will I feel that way? I don't know. If he plays a season in the position you're supposed to be playing,
I think actually
will I feel that way?
It stumbled into a good signing.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
yeah,
I haven't got there. I haven't got there.
But a team like Arsenal shouldn't be stumbling to a good signing.
No,
I agree with what he did. That's what he did.
What do you mean it's not?
No. You hold on.
No, you're right.
You can't.
Gravenberch just stumbled into being a good player. Yes or no?
No.
You're mad.
No.
I see.
Gravenberch stumbled. Gravenberch has stumbled into being Gravenberch has stumbled into being a good centre midfielder. Yes or no?
Expand on that. No. Don't answer this question. Expand on that. Expand on that.
So when he came, he did stumble because when he came, he looked like he had no future under Klopp.
You're mad.
He did look like
he was struggling.
He's struggling.
But my counter to that.
Let him.
What signing did you want? Be honest. What signing did you want?
Do you want to tell you why he wanted? Do you want to tell you why he
Why did
wanted
you want
that?
Zubimendi? Thank
Do you
you.
want to tell you why he
Why
wanted
do you want
Zubimendi?
Zubimendi?
Because he wanted someone who's comfortable.
I never asked what he wanted. What you wanted?
No.
What did you want?
No.
What did you want?
What I want doesn't matter. No,
it does matter.
Stop.
Guys. Come on, man. What we did?
Because what I want doesn't matter. It's what Slot wants, right? Slot wanted a pivot that is comfortable receiving the ball from the defenders because he's said this on record. So what I want doesn't matter. He wanted a pivot that was comfortable receiving the ball specifically from Virgil or Konate, but probably Virgil because Virgil's a better passer and can turn on the ball and move the game forward. Right? Zubimendi didn't turn out. Then he said he realized, oh wait, actually, we've got Gravenberch. But no. Listen, let me finish. Let me finish. Gravenberch originally was meant to be playing in where Soboslai. Is it Soboslai or McAllister. Please, right? Because he can do that up the field and he's got a better passing range. This is what Slot felt. This is what Slot felt. Don't roll your eyes at me.
I'm not rolling the eyes. But it's still my point.
No. But my counter to your point
he was already a good signing. He was already a good signing.
My counter to your point, if Klopp was still there, I would say yes. That's a stumble. Yeah, but because it's a new manager, it's not the manager saying, right, my signing is wrong, so I've got to play him in a different position.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying it's not a stumble. If it was Klopp, that's what I'm saying. For teams challenging for the league, you should not be celebrating a stumble signing. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not celebrating it, but the question was, is it a good signing? I said it's a good signing.
It's been a good signing. So I'm not celebrating
it. If he stumbled in it, if he meant it, it's not relevant to me.
But I'm saying for teams that ill, shouldn't be there.
Let me ask you a slightly different question. You shouldn't rely on Biden 8 and then figuring out that he's tall, he has some game intelligence, so he will score goals like we're doing with Marino now. Yeah. So you should have just bought a striker. I agree with that.
Bingo.
100%.
You should have just bought a striker.
Let me ask a slightly different question.
I don't want this question.
It's not that bad. No, it's not bad. It's not. I'm not trying to catch you out or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You have Partey, Rice, Ødegaard, and a fit Havertz.
Yes.
Who's your mid three?
You know what?
And Jesus split. You got Jesus starting up front. So who's your middle three?
Well, Jesus wouldn't be starting, but it's true. With it all fit, was it?
Okay, let's say you actually go out into the market and buy a striker.
I think before he would have done Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz, but Partey's kind of back to the Partey that he was before he was giving the ball to the other team more than his own teammates. So Partey's been good this season, and we saw him missing on Wednesday. Now it's Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, and then Havertz up front. I think that's what it's come to. Yeah, honestly. If Havertz is available next week, and he said he's going to play a few games this season, there's 3 games left.
No, they said he's going to
clearly he's going to be back next week. It's Rice, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz. And I even think, even when we get a striker in,
I think Havertz is still.
I don't think you see him back in the midfield, mate.
And I think that's his points.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll just shoot Arteta as well. Maybe he feels like I can't release that Odegaard valve because Havertz has to play up front. Right? And I don't even know if Havertz dropped to midfield, I don't know if it's Odegaard he would replace. I don't think he would.
So then do you go out and buy a striker?
We're going to buy a striker.
He feels up to you see my shopping list. Well, we need a striker. Ranieri needs to be a credible threat to Odegaard's position, i.e., you may start, but he's your captain, so that puts him in a sticky position.
Can I just quickly go back to his earlier point about the squad building? The squad building from a defensive perspective has been sound.
Excellent.
It's been great.
Yeah.
So you're giving us the base, and I think he's more gone off the viewpoint of
the base.
That's this phase.
Yeah, and his viewpoint is, okay, how do I topple City? Now, toppling City versus creating a team to be good enough to kind of like be fully functioning against all of Europe is slightly different. I think he's been so wedded with trying to be kind of like better than City, he's almost lost the focus because now trying to topple you is completely different. It's not the same problem that we kind of require. Does that make sense? Now the expectation is for City to be top, but actually what he's done is he's tried to basically be like, how can we meet that? Not factoring in, if I bring a little bit more jeopardy into that, that's actually the thing that takes me across the line with that.
So my only issue with that approach is 2 things. One, if he's trying to conquer the league by almost emulating what he kind of pulled together at City to beat City, rather than I need to beat City twice in the season and actually beating everyone else is the more important thing, then that even proves my point even more. That would be really... I think it's in my mind, I view it a little bit simpler than that. His phases are way too long, by the way. And phase 1B is that defensive, that defensive solidity, right? That super defensive solidity, because I think that's the one thing that changed with Pep. His team, Manchester City is probably one of his better defending teams from a defensive point of view, not just from keeping the ball point of view. And then the next phase was midfield. So you've bought Rice. Well, apparently Zubimendi's a done deal. So my fear is that he thinks there's enough up front by Saka playing every minute of every season, Havertz doing a decent job, and Martinelli, and they do their job without the ball. You know what my actual fear is? We're not even at the striker phase. I'm telling you, if Jesus didn't get injured and Saka didn't get injured and expose all of that, we would have bought Zubimendi and probably another midfielder this year. I think he's in his head, the striker phase is still another phase away.
Yeah. I see another fullback.
Do you know what?
Another centre.
You need a left back.
Zubimendi is definitely turning up, and a left back is turning up.
Do you know why? I understand. To Ash's point earlier, I don't think it's entirely mad, because if you look at it, City have been the dominant team for a very long time.
Yeah.
So if you can beat a team that is better or can nullify City, logically speaking, you've created a team
to beat everyone else.
Yeah.
Good enough to beat everyone else.
But then that's focusing on focusing just on one
problem, which is where the floor is.
Europe. That's why I said some of the signings I want us to make us a threat in Europe as well. Because as much as we dealt with Real Madrid really well in that kind of circumstance, I think we've seen, especially in that first leg, again, some of the fatal flaws that we don't have that threat. We don't have the ability to kind of like sustain certain things on the top teams in Europe yet. And we're missing that kind of striker and that potent person to lead us into
I'm without dragging something. Go on, give.
I was just going to go off topic a little bit. But why do you think the atmosphere is so flat on Wednesday?
Because of the early goal.
Bruv, that's it for me.
But that shouldn't be it.
What do you mean?
No, bro. As a
the
team,
PSG goal.
Yeah. So you're at home and in the semi-final, you give away a goal in the first few
And you
minutes.
know it was as
Of course
well.
the fans are pissed. What
Yeah,
you
I'm
doing?
not gonna lie to you. I think a lot.
But I think the
No,
goal was too.
I
I
understand
think the goal was
PTSD,
too
brother.
early to be so
understand that.
But we've been there
despondent.
before.
Tell you why.
That one.
I understand that.
PTSD. Let me tell you the reason why.
Trust me, I've been there at that stadium when we're getting clapped up. Trust me.
09, Ronaldo's free kick that went through Armenia's hands.
Oh, yeah.
It was done. Like Arsenal do this. No, at some of the biggest moments, we beat ourselves
We will.
before we've even got into the game. So going down 1-0, and then even then, we just was erratic all over the place.
Yeah.
We weren't pressing at the right.
They were
were getting
pressing
out
us, they were
too
controlling
early.
it. Yeah,
So all it was is that real tragic inevitability of, oh, we've been here before, and we're not going to make it across.
You know-
Actually, and I said this, it kind of was like the fact that we lost 1-0. We're lucky.
Bruv,
We caught life. That we
it
actually
feels like a
still
smash
in.
and grab. We didn't grab anything. It feels like a smash and
No,
grab.
I was a bit
The
surprised
first 20
considering
The atmosphere against Real Madrid.
Against Real Madrid, I just thought
No,
even
but
if
they
you
caught
went
early.
behind,
the team gave
4
them the
minutes.
energy for that. But that first 20-25 minute key, it felt like remember
Yeah,
them days
it
where
was
it's like, oh, we're
stressful.
getting Bayern.
Yeah.
And it's 7. Bruv, it felt like that again.
Man.
I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was in a time machine.
Yeah.
It was mad. That first 25 minutes.
yeah.
I
I think
was-
you
I was
need, I think you need that going forward though, because like the players can only do so much.
Yep.
And like I was watching someone who'd been to Villa Park, Newcastle, because PSG played Newcastle last year, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
And Anfield, he was like the atmosphere contrast between those stadiums and the Emirates. You can see how those other stadiums G'd up the team.
You know what I want to say though?
And
With all due respect, they're happy to be there, innit? Like,
no, but he said
not in a rude way.
what I'm saying, he mentioned Liverpool as well. Just like the atmosphere is just PSG were creating more fans or creating more
But
atmosphere.
again, more often-
yeah.
I thought it was a home game.
But again, more often than not, as a Liverpool fan, European nights at Anfield, you've had a different experience.
But you've got to help your team get there. I
I don't think we're
I
going to be like
totally
that.
understand.
I don't think we're going to be like
But
that.
help me, I don't do something dumb in the first 3 minutes. Then, innit?
But also,
It's true.
Also, we didn't do anything in that first 25 minutes to give the fans anything. And I think it's a
Bro, it
bit
starts from the pitch, bro.
Also,
I'm a big fan of that.
there was a key moment. You see when Martinelli had that chance and he didn't score it?
yeah.
Like, and then Trossard further down, there wasn't even that moment to like raise it. If we got one,
I think
it would have
really
raised.
different.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a
We
bit-
were so worried. I'm not
Of
like we were
conceding
so
another one.
worried of conceding
And
another
to
one in
be
that
fair,
first
there
25
were a
minutes.
couple of moments where they could have scored a second.
I'll give you a great
mad?
example. I'll give you a good example, yeah.
If Nunes misses that Martinelli chance, the fans start singing YNWA. We get that's the difference.
But
Arsenal
I
fans,
think the basis
like,
of
you
that
lot
is
have got to
different.
just keep going.
But it's a
I think-
culture, innit?
Yeah, and I'm not dismissing it, but even like I give an example, Newcastle, right? They already how many goals up from the first leg, yeah? Bruv, from the kickoff, they're seeing their players run at 400 miles an hour at a team that they've already basically beaten. Yeah, they're behind that, bruv. They're not seeing Newcastle give away an early goal.
And then start doing
And
system ball.
And the thing is with Arsenal, like I know Arsenal get a bit of stick because like before the Madrid game and PSG, it was like the club releasing videos and stuff like that. And
Oh, but that's normal these days.
I don't know, but sometimes it feels a little
cringy.
bit unauthentic. Like
Yeah.
And I think if the
No, Mikel Arteta's one looked unauthentic.
I think if the
Just
fans, I think if the fans in the stadium create the atmosphere without the buzz of kind of media, I think that then it feeds onto the pitch, and I think that's why Arsenal fans get a lot of stick for it kind of being a bit fake,
I
like
think
with
the
the
only thing I will
tifo
say
and
to-
all that kind of
the only-
stuff.
The only thing I will say to that is, a lot of people who've never actually been there for a game talk a lot about what the atmosphere is or it isn't.
Yeah.
As someone that went there for a bit, I'm not trying to be the most.
We're not loud.
The atmosphere is exaggerated, bro. It's very much exaggerated, and you know I've been to some of the other stadiums, Anfield, etc. Yes, the atmosphere there is special, right? But there's certain situations where, quite frankly, some of that comes from almost previous the culture
Experience,
in
the
that
culture. We don't have that culture.
We're a nervy fan base.
Yeah, but I think because
So
you're on
when
the
that comes
cusp,
to certain
but
Premier
I
League-
think you've got to flip that because you're on the cusp of doing something so good. You've got to be like,
what helps you flip that is what happens on the pitch. If I'm a Liverpool fan of my age and I've been going to Anfield for a long time, the Champions League nights feel very different to what it has been as an Arsenal fan of my age going to Arsenal
Do you know
for
what?
a long time.
Do you know what their fans feel like? You remember when Roy Keane called the prawn sandwich brigade?
No, but you know what I think it is as
But
well.
it's far from that.
No, but we're also going into it not in the best form. We're missing Gabriel. We're missing Havertz. Much as I'm not his biggest fan. We're still missing like the person who's like our 9. Thomas Partey's out. There's enough reasons for us already to have a level of fear. And then there's just our current situation of we're not doing as well as we should be doing. Yeah. So as much as we had that Real Madrid moment, which was great, like the Real Madrid moment, a lot of fans when they said like, oh wow, okay, that was a thing. There was a bit more expectation on the PSG game because we beat them earlier on in the season as well. And I think a lot of people saw it as a real 50-50 game. The Real Madrid game, it was almost like we expect them to beat us because of the names.
But I think the two things with the PSG thing was we saw their performance against Liverpool and we saw their performance against Aston Villa. So we knew what they could do and we faced a very unstructured
But this is the thing, like, you've got to get out of that mindset. Like when Barca came and we were 3-0 down, we had no Salah, no Firmino, Shaqiri was starting, and the place was electric. Like half an hour before kickoff. Like I know you're saying.
What's the measurement here? Like these
kind of
convos, they make me laugh because
I'm saying like
they're a bit.
You can't quantify them.
Yeah,
I'm saying
it's all a bit. Man.
No, but I'm saying like Arsenal are on the cusp of doing something really well, and it can't be like, oh, it has to be for the players to G up the crowd. Like I'm saying, if you're part of the 56,000 Arsenal fans in the stadium, you like before kickoff, the stadium wasn't rocking. I was saying like Champions League semi-final.
PSG fans, I'll be real.
It's got like you got to be rocking.
I think
what difference would it have made?
It's culture.
What I'm saying,
no, but you can't.
The whole point
is like creating the atmosphere. So when you're playing,
that's not our culture.
No, but what I'm saying is like you're saying what
difference. Never been
if you're walking out as an Arsenal fan.
No,
your first Champions League side, bro.
It did.
No, if you're walking out as your first Champions League semi-final in however many years, you're walking out as an Arsenal player, and the PSG fans are louder than your fans. Are you like, what? What's going on? I'm saying you create the atmosphere. Don't let it be. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think we're over-egging this personally.
No, I agree to a point. I think there was an atmosphere beforehand.
That's what I'm saying.
There was, but I think that early goal.
If you speak to people that were actually at the game, they will tell you there was atmosphere.
Was there, and it was like, ready to go. There was a bit of nerves, but obviously, like it was rocking. That early goal, no, remember they were bopping for about 2 minutes before, right? So hold on. As much as they scored after 4 minutes. After about 30 seconds, everyone's like,
maybe it's just me.
And then they scored.
No, it's not just you. This is a wider comment. Lots of people are talking in that way.
It started. They had the ball. We didn't touch the ball for ages. They scored on their first roll, like meaningful attackers up. It was literally like, oh gosh, like what's gonna happen next? And then for the next 10-15 minutes, it felt like it was just an inevitable that we were gonna fluff the lines. Yeah. I think we did well to get back into the game, and actually the fact that we're going there with a chance to kind of do that, I think we do have a very.
I don't think it's over.
Yeah, it's not over. We still, I was about to say, a very good chance. I wouldn't say that.
It's 1-0. It's not over.
Yeah, I don't think. Actually, I think if they scored a second, then I think so. Because I'll tell you what happened.
It's over.
Because against Villa, they scored that last minute goal, which completely changed the tide.
I agree.
Whereas the fact that we're only 1 down means if something happens quite early, we had a couple of chances that we should have taken. I still don't trust Donnarumma. I don't think he's completely.
Buffon one day and the Buffon the next.
It's the truth. But like, I just don't. I think there's something there for us. I'm not saying we're going to do it. I think PSG are definitely the favourites. I think there's still something there for us, right?
I think the loss of Dembele will play into your hands as well.
Is that confirmed? I think it's a little bit of mind games. The last thing is, before we move on, the last thing I will say is. The one thing I also fear is, do we have enough ruthlessness when it comes to... No, not in game. I'm talking at squad level. So there's got to be... When is the limit where we're saying, you know what, Odegaard or whoever, at one point we thought you were going to be X, now we need Y. And I think in certain other clubs, that ruthlessness, when we look at the top clubs, that ruthlessness has been there, right? That ruthlessness to just be like... gone. And I'm not necessarily sure we're building a team in that way. I think what we're trying to do is that whole they grew up together.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're trying to do. And I'm not necessarily sure that is going to be
enough.
Yeah, because we may win one league, but if you want to be in the conversation for a period of time, which is what all of this money and time has to be. You can't have done all of this to be in the conversation, maybe win the league once. Well, what was the retort we always threw back at you guys? Oh, you've won it once. You're the new Leicester, blah, blah, blah. You have to build something that means that you're in the conversation for a cycle, right? And if you're not willing to chop certain people, they're going to hold you back.
Yeah.
You got to get a good 3-4 years. Hold it.
And that starts with the manager.
But I do think he's got that ruthlessness. Because when we look,
when has he showed it?
Ramsdale.
His hand was forced, bro.
No, his hand wasn't forced. He showed it with Ramsdale.
What? After what he did, the mistakes he made?
No, but what I'm saying, no, he showed it with Ramsdale. He showed it quite a few times. Leno, so he's done it with Leno Ramsdale, then he moved forward. Then we're looking at the right back now. It looks like Ben White's not going to get right back. No, sorry,
but what I mean is with his own players. So now this is his people. These are the people he rates. You know what I mean?
But Ben White, Ramsdale was his player. Ben White's his player. I don't think Ben White's going to get right back from Timber now.
But that was more injury based though. But I think what John's saying is like
Ben White from Timber,
100%.
No,
Timber's
right back in the Premier.
Take errors out. Like Ramsdale was bombed out because of errors.
Yeah.
Like Odegaard's just not performing. Is he going to be ruthless to replace someone because they're not performing? I think that's what John's saying.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't want to do too much at Odegaard because he's got enough credit in the bank to at least get another season or whatever. But how much and how long? Just what I mean. And you don't have to be playing bad, but have you become the player that we thought you were going to be? You haven't come out.
But I think he's done it defensively, hasn't he? He's done it with Zinchenko. I think he's going to do it with Ben White. I think Ben White's going to be off the bench.
I think he was going to do it with Partey, but then he didn't. He didn't see it through with him.
Okay. Maybe he has. I think
Jesus. I think he's done it with Jesus.
Some of the rigidity. Well. Maybe not. I think
Odegaard is the hard one though.
But if there's no Champions League this year, he's got one more season anyway. So,
well, he's just signed.
No, he's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere.
He's got more than one season. He just signed a new contract. He's the second highest player.
If you don't win anything, if you don't win the Champions League, and don't win anything next season, and he's still there, I don't get
I'm telling you now,
that speaks to everything,
bro. And I'm telling you now, I will put money on it. If he comes top 3 next year and doesn't win anything, but he gets like another semi-final, bro, come August 2026. Arteta will be in that dugout at the Emirates, bro.
Yeah, he will.
He's not going nowhere.
I don't think they're rash like that. I don't think the owners are rash like that.
You don't hand out those kind of contracts if a guy's in that kind of.
August 26th will be what, 8 years?
But what I mean by rash is I don't think they're reactive to the fans.
You don't finally see what I'm saying.
That's poor.
Nah.
I don't think the owners are reactive to the fans like that because remember fans wanted Wenger out for the longest time.
Forget the fans, Adrian. If you look at the facts,
but what I'm saying, I hear what you're. But what I'm saying,
these jobs should be in jeopardy.
It's not about. I hear what you're saying, but it's not about Wenger having credit. Remember, the fans wanted Wenger out for a long time, and the owners stuck by Wenger. And it got to the point where they said, all right, we're not pushing forward no more.
Did he stick by Emery though? Did he stick by Emery?
Right. No, I hear that. But I think there was other things in the background with Emery. Okay, I think there's things that the players were happy with him.
He wanted certain players, he wanted to make certain signings, etc.
I mean, based on what we see today, in my personal opinion, if you're Arteta,
he's staying.
If you don't win anything this season, you should be going into next season feeling like
your job's
things are a bit techie.
No, he's not going in there.
But he just got a new 3 or 4 year contract. A lot of people regard him as the best, whatever.
But Keith, I completely agree with you. And I think that if he's not under the requisite pressure, it speaks directly to what we're going to be for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, literally.
This is what we're going to be. So
all the Arteta fanboys,
this isn't good enough.
Cool, innit?
This isn't
cool.
good enough.
Well, after all this, he's going to win on Wednesday, and then I'm going to.
I don't know, man.
But there's a wider conversation to be had about that because it's the same thing when Liverpool fans were talking about the league. They were being told, they're not grateful. You've won the Champions League, but Steven Gerrard even said at the time, he said, "I would trade the Champions League for a league win because that's what shows your level." Yeah, exactly. Anyway, look, the Champions League is kind of Arsenal's last kind of iron in the fire. So we'll see what happens this week. Second leg, PSG to come. We've got the Barcelona.
That's gonna be a great.
The Barcelona Inter game. I mean, the first leg was a classic. If you like attacking football, if you're a defender or tactician, maybe not the best. But I mean, I'm looking forward to that game more than my own match. Whatever happens, I think we're gonna get a pretty crazy final. There's so much to unpack, but I think we'll talk to it next week once the ties are done. The Lamine Yamal's performance. I think I'm gonna jump out on a ledge with some of the things I'm gonna say about him and what he's gonna become in the game. And yeah, let's take it from there. Another week of Cunha playing well. We've got to talk about who and where should buy him. Apparently Manchester United have got that locked up. Don't know why he'd go there, apart from the money. And then we've also had the Championship conclude. But let's get through some of the playoff stuff first, and then our championship correspondents. I was going to say correspondent, but Isaac's baked into the championship as well, proper. And we can talk about some of that. Who made the playoffs? Quickly, Coventry. Well done, Frank.
So Sheffield United finished third. Sunderland finished fourth, and they haven't won a game in like 10. So
wow, so they must have built
they built up a bit of cushion. Coventry and Bristol City. For me, I'd like Bristol City to come up. A team that hasn't been in the Premier League before. So
oh, really?
I think it'd be good.
No, man.
The problem I have with that is
they're gonna
come up and they'll go straight back down.
I hear it, man.
All three of them. All three of them are running straight back down.
I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say I think Parker has done a good job at Burnley, and I think their style of football will keep them up.
Well, we know what Parker's record in the Premier League is like.
No, but I think what's that? They've gone back down and come straight back up, right?
Yeah.
So I think they've put something together where a couple other additions might push Wolves and whoever else is in that relegation zone.
No, Wolves are good next year.
You think?
I think so. Yeah.
Wolves are good next year.
Wolves will be alright.
There's a question about Vitor Pereira and his form of Wolves, but maybe we'll say that for another.
Okay. All right. Cool. As always,
we're not going to big up Harry Kane.
Oh yeah, Harry finally won a trophy.
You just slandered that. It was mainly Mark who used to knock Harry Kane.
Wasn't he a supporter of it? No. Wasn't he a Harry supporter? No. Oh, he wasn't. No. Listen, finally he's gone to a team where his goals can mean something. Yeah, they weren't wasted all these years. Harry's finally got a medal. Some people are gonna say it's the Bundesliga and they won it up, but I'm not on that because but he's also broken records there. Exactly. Quickest to reach certain goals, most goals in a debut season. Listen, Harry Kane is top. He's top. But officially, he's world class. But to be a top, you got to play for a top team.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
There you go.
Done it in the Champions League.
There you go.
So yeah, well done, Harry. You had to go to Germany to do it, but cool. Anyway, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll be back next week. Peace.